Thank you so much.
I have kind of
Questions?
questions.
We currently have our BSL interpreter here as well. And I wanted to kick off to say welcome to the first ever UK Black Pride Community Roundtable. My name is Aisha Shaibu-Lenoir. I'm the head of community engagement at UK Black Pride. And it's just wonderful that you've made the time today because I know Pride is very, very busy. Pride month is busy. It's warm outside. We're coming to the summer. Everybody wants to go on holiday and do other things. Prioritize being here today because it is very important. We're going to go through quite a few things today, and I know not everybody can stay the whole day. So we've split the event into two sections where we've got some wonderful keynote speakers that are going to talk to you about the things that they've been doing in the community, some of the challenges that they've been facing, and things that we can potentially build and add to. After that, there will be a break where should you need to go, you're more than welcome to. But if you're staying from 3 o'clock, there will be a panel discussion that will be talking about our community strategic building, strategic community building, funding and resilience. So this isn't an event that's going to solve everything, but it's to start sparking different conversations with UK Black Pride, with each other, and also within your workforces and whoever you interact with and whoever you think could help support to shape our future moving forward. Lady Phyll will be with us, but sadly because of kind of schedule with traveling, she's not able to be with us physically. Currently, she's at the airport, but she will come on at some point to also speak to everybody. We felt that it was important to have this event so that we can create a space where our stories, our truth, and the things that we need for our community can be centered to a point. So we brought together some incredible leaders, some people from different organizations, and it's all about kind of thinking with allies. How do we work with allies? What does long-term stability look like? How do we keep evolving and not kind of face the same problems? So a few people that we have today have been working with the community since the 80s. Some have started recently within the last few years, but it's all about bringing different knowledge, different people so that we can learn from each other, but mainly being in a space where I think we can speak to each other with intention and with love, because yeah, there's so much noise outside. There's so much that is going on in the world. How do we work together? How do you support each other? How do you provide feedback? How do you find solutions? These are all questions that I think is very hard to do when, you know, we have so much going on in our lives, in our work lives, and of course, with all the atrocities that are going on today. So yeah, Lady Phyll will be here later on. But to begin with, I wanted to bring on one of our keynote speakers who doesn't need any introductions. Lila, if you can come up.
Yes.
Lila.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. I'm really grateful to be here and really thankful. Just a quick visual description. I've got curly brown hair, shoulder length, 57-year-old olive skin. I'm wearing watermelon earrings, pearls, black and white spotted dress, and a Palestinian keffiyeh with embroidery, Tatriz embroidery. So I'm really honored. Thank you, Aisha. Thank you, Phil, and everyone at UK Black Pride for inviting me. I'll start with a quote from Audre Lorde. There is no such thing as a single issue struggle because we do not live single issues lives. My name is Laila El Metoui. My pronouns are she and her. I work as an equity educator through lemeducation.com. I'm also a social justice advocate, an educator, and a community leader, as well as an activist. So I will focus on the three main things that I'm currently doing at the moment. I'm the founder of several initiatives, but I'm currently working with Pride in Education, Swanakways and Swanales, and the Embassy Model Summits. I'm a member of numerous WhatsApp groups, and I've got the incredible privilege of having been asked to join the Mayor of London LGBTIQIA+ community forum. I'm also a member of Queers for Palestine, Proud Ambassadors, Proud London Councils, and Rainbow Borough Projects. And I feel extremely grateful to have been awarded a few honours and awards for the work that I've been doing for nearly 40 years. So by the end of this session, you will gain a better understanding of some of the activities that I'm involved in supporting, and we'll be focusing on Pride in Education, Swanakways and Swanales. So Swana is Southwest Asia and North Africa. The Embassy Model Series, which was co-founded by Cameron Khan. Hi, Cam. He's joined us online, and the Rainbow Future upcoming training course. So Pride in Education, if you go to prideineducation.co.uk, you will find who we are and what we do. Our main purpose is to advance LGBTIQIA+ inclusion in education and to equip educators with practical tools for inclusivity across the education sector. We don't actually go into schools. We set up events online, which are free, and people come to us. So this is the Pride in Education team. There's three of us. So that's me, Cam, who's in charge of strategy and policy, Emma, who's our director of social media, and you can see my pug, Rainbow, who's an honorary member of our team. None of us get paid, and we have literally zero funding. The budget for this year is £841 because we've just lost our funder. So if you want to support our work, there's a QR code. I founded the organization in March 2022. After the government cut down anti-homophobic bullying funding in March 2020. There was £4 million that was removed from the education budget. And I remember ringing Sue Saunders saying, over my dead body, am I going to leave the education sector because my background is in education? We have delivered our mission through regular conferences, free webinars, and we've got loads of online resources. And for almost 5 years, we've supported thousands of educators worldwide, creating welcoming environment in education. Our last webinar called Beyond the Supreme Court Ruling had over 500 people subscribed, and we're gathering data at the moment to respond to the HRC consultation, and we've focused over the years on making sure that everyone in the community is represented. So we've had trans, non-binary, intersex identity, asexuality, support disability, mental health, all of it through an intersectional lens. Please work. So we do 5 things. We do activism, webinar, conferences, but the main thing is our website. So if you work in education or know anyone who works in education, please go to our website, prideineducation.co.uk, and you can download free teaching plan, teaching resources and lesson plan. And we don't even collect your email address. You click on the link and then you have the worksheet. There's also research. So I would highly encourage to go to prideineducation.co.uk. And we've also presented at events through stalls. So as I said, if you want to support our work, we've got a fundraising campaign at the moment. Scan the QR code. Every little helps, whether it's 1 penny or 2p or 50p. Everything that we do not get paid. Cam, Emma, and I do not take a single penny for the work that we do. Thank you. The other thing that I'm currently involved with is founding and co-admin 2 groups. So Swana Queers, which is Southwest Asia and North Africa queers, which used to be called as UK Queer Arab, and Swana Les. But we're only 2 out of the 4 groups at the moment in the UK. So there's also an gay Arab group, GAG, run by Omar, and the Swana Queer Network run by Mustafa. Tarek and I are running and Yusuf and Rahim are running the Swana Queer group. And Swana Les is also run by me and G and Dana. What we do, and between all of the groups, there's about 500 of us in London. Some of us are in more than one group. It's a private group. It's a very safe group. And I'll talk in a minute about the issues faced by our community. So since October 2023, Israel has bombed and carried out 17,000 military actions across the Middle East, targeting the occupied Palestinian territories, Lebanon, Syria, Iran, Yemen, Iraq, Egypt, and Jordan. And as a result of this targeted attack on our community is really heartbreaking. Heightened anxiety and emotional distress due to personal tie to the region, increased discrimination and marginalization. There's a rise in Islamophobia and racism in the media, within the community as well as outside of the community. Strain on mental health and community resources. Some of our members don't have English as their first language, so that's an added burden. And also, I'm suffering from activism fatigue. I really feel like we're being attacked on multiple fronts. If you look at what the government is doing at the moment, it's an attack on trans and non-binary people. It's an attack on women. It's an attack on disabled people. And I feel like we're fighting multiple battles on multiple fronts. So activism fatigue, for me, is a real thing right now. And I think for all of us who've got intersectional identities, it's more prominent. So yeah, intersectional challenges for disabled queer members. So if you're disabled, visually impaired, hearing impaired, the ongoing genocide and ethnic cleansing can intensify these challenges, disrupting the support that you have. And as I mentioned, the Supreme Court ruling and the subsequent EHRC interim guidance had added additional stress to our trans and non-binary members. Also, we have quite a few members who are seeking asylum. And I've got some example of the kind of support that our members currently need. So some British Palestinians are finding really hard to focus on their university studies because their countries, their families being completely destroyed. Several of our community members have been targeted online, hate speech. Other members are struggling with accessing affordable accommodation. Some members are asking for help to support their friends and family back home. So I had a message this morning saying, can you help me? I'm trying to get someone out of Egypt. Another person saying, well, my friend in Tehran is trying to get out. So it's like people are suffering here, but they're also trying to support friends and family in their home country. And when you talk about being an Arab and a lesbian, I don't really see myself being represented. And when it is, it's stereotypical and inaccurate. So the last thing I'm going to talk about is the embassy model. So I've been running a series of summits, looking at how global corporations can foster a safer and more inclusive environment for our community. And there's an ebook coming out in the autumn, which I am co-writing with Cameron Khan. Finally, I'd like you to take your phones out and scan this QR code. Lukash and I have co-written a successful funding bid, and we're offering free English to anyone aged 16 to 25 who's LGBTIQA+. So it's ESOL and employability, and it's a free course that will be the whole of the information can be accessed through the QR code, and I think we can put it in the chat if anybody's interested. Exactly 10 minutes. Oh. Thank you very much.
herself.
She's a pro.
If you tell me you want me for 10 minutes, I literally speak for 10 minutes.
Do you have any questions? Thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions?
Yes.
Yes, please go
I
ahead.
don't have any questions. I just want to say thank you, particularly about acknowledging activism fatigue, and you've basically encapsulated all the intersectionality identities that we have, and it's real, you know.
Say your name and what you do, because I know you, but I know other people don't. But
So for
what
the
you're
people
saying,
online, someone has just thanked me for acknowledging activism fatigue.
Yeah, my name.
they can hear you.
Okay, my name's Taranjit and I'm from Black and Brown Rainbow. We are a free telephone helpline for Black and Brown LGBTQ people who experience sexual domestic violence, racism, please stop and search. So all the things that you don't see in the generic services, we're all volunteers. And Leila, you spoke about how you set up, all volunteers, we don't get paid for it. We've been going on for 5 years, and I just want to acknowledge Aisha as well, who's really supported us in terms of just getting the message out there. And that's what all this is about. It's about us supporting each other to be able to get the message out, because most of us, well, we don't have any funding at all. The only funding that we have is through selling of t-shirts, but we exist, and that's really important. So I just want to say thank you for acknowledging the activism fatigue, because it's really.
Thank you. I've just realized that I wasn't on camera, so people could hear me but not see me.
because it's in your presentation.
No, the video thing wasn't on.
Sorry, the recording should be up to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any more questions?
Oh,
Yeah.
I was going to ask why the English is only up to 25.
Because the charity that is running is only set up for young persons.
Right.
So it's the Mosaic LGBTQ plus young persons trust, and the services that are set up is just for young persons.
Yeah.
But there is a lack of provision for queer people, because when they attend ESOL classes,
Yes.
they're part of the general classes, and teachers are not always. So we're offering a 4-week course for free, and transport and lunch will also be provided.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, Sarah.
So sorry, just to let you know, the recording should stream even when you're on a presentation mode of both views. So, and there's actually microphones in the ceiling, so you should.
Yes. So you had a question.
And yes, how do you look after yourself? Because you're talking about activism fatigue. So what do you do for yourself to deal with this?
But first of all, I've got a fantastically supportive group of people around me, and everyone that I interact with, whether it's when I queers or Pride in Education, we look after each other. I've got a pug that takes me out 3 times a day. Absolutely love her. Actually, when I'm out with her, I'm just connecting with nature, looking at her sniffing around and doing her business. But it's a good question. There is a paucity of service, and I'm also in therapy. Like, I see my therapist once a week. I don't think I'll be able to survive without her, if I'm honest. It's really hard.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, what are some of the organizations that you've worked with and collaborated with, and how did you find that working together? Where were you able to meet each other and support each other?
I'm not sure I understand the question, sorry.
So have you collaborated with any other organizations within doing the work that you do?
But which ones? Swana Queers, Pride in Education, the Embassy Model Summit.
How did you find working together across your various intersections?
So I run 4 initiatives, 5, I can't remember. No. But yeah, we're being supported by UK Black Pride. Last year was the first time that I was on stage with Rahim, and we also had a community panel. And I don't know how to express the gratitude that I have for that kind of visibility and representation, because where do you see queer Arabs being represented? You know? So yeah, there's a few of us that want to make sure that we are visible, that they know we exist. And with everything that's happening, and I want to name it, it's a genocide and it's ethnic cleansing, and also the cuts in DEI. I don't know where to start, but we partner with different organizations on a regular basis.
But the main part of your work is quite isolated, is what it sounds like, because I'm asking because some organizations in their core work, they like apply for funding in collaboration with partners, or they do projects with partners. So that, I guess that's the specific thing that I'm asking is, does that happen for you guys, or because of the demographic you're focused on, you're basically the only ones doing what you, are you basically the only one doing what you do?
So Pride in Education has partnered with Stonewall, Diversity Role Model, Just Like Us. We collaborated with most of the LGBTQ plus educational sector organization, and we've managed to get sponsorship. When we had our in-person event, we had Pearson, we had the London Stock Exchange Group that sponsored us. So we are able to, but at the moment we've lost our sponsor because of the cuts in D&I, and it's becoming increasingly difficult. I was at the Give Out Pride celebration a couple of weeks ago, I can't remember, but a lot of the charities were actually voicing their concern about how funding is getting more and more difficult to access. You look at what's happening in Pride in San Francisco, the funders have pulled out, like our community is no longer cool. People don't want to sponsor us. And if you're black, brown, disabled, you're even less cool as part of the community. So
you're basically only getting like project-based funding. You can only get
Yes.
money to work on one thing, then one thing, then one thing.
But for example, Swana Queers, we have no budget and we don't need it. It's just a WhatsApp group. There's over 500 people over the various WhatsApp group. We meet up, we organized a fundraiser for Palestine. We raised 1,500 in December last year. Happens to be my birthday. And we have like picnics that are being organized, walking, like we're trying to support each other in any way we can. What people don't understand is like a lot of our members are in the closet because we're being criminalized across the region. And Israel says that it's the only free country for queers in the Middle East. That's not true, because if you're Palestinian and you live in East Jerusalem, you cannot access any of the queer venues. So, you know, there is a genuine discrimination happening. So our members cannot be out. It's a question of life and death for many of them.
So,
I just wanted to offer, because I might not get the chance to speak to everyone in the room, hopefully I will, but BCS Pride offered the venue today to UK Black Pride to help support members of this community. So if there are people in this room who A, want to run events, B, want access to, say, like technical training, you reach out to myself, whether through Aisha or just come and approach me. My name's Sarah Wrench, so you can add me on LinkedIn. But what we try and do is facilitate offering this venue to help with running community events. And personally, I know I don't fit into necessarily the demographic in the room, but I'm a huge ally. So if any of you do find yourself wanting to run events, are already activists in the community, then feel free to add me or reach out to Aisha and just ask for my number and I can connect you. Because I guess what we want to do is try and help members of this community as much as possible. And I can only do that if you tell me how. So
the people online, Sarah had just offered to help if you need help with venue. Thank you so
thank
much.
you so much. Thank you again. This is partly why we're here today, just to be able to also share things that you might miss. You know, I know people say, oh, find me on Instagram, I posted this, oh yeah, I've shared it. I don't know how many things on Instagram I see these days. There's so much going on. Often I don't even see anything anymore. And I think we need to be less online and be with each other. Or find a balance, I think, is so important, just because as times go by, there's so much online that I think is it makes it very difficult to digest, to be able to process. And I think sitting together, meeting with each other, or going to spaces where you can learn more about the things you're not sure would really help us. And it's also good for our mental health, just to take a break at things. If you do ever want to use this space, let me know, Sarah, it will gladly help. And if we have more resources that we can support in that way, we can help signpost you. I'm mindful of time, but what I'm going to do is I want to bring up Jason Jones, who is an incredible human rights defender. He has been doing so much over the past decade and even more. I mean, he's an incredible figure. We'll be talking about a little bit more journey in terms of what's happened in Trinidad and Tobago, and there's this video also that I would like to share. So I will kick off by sharing the video.
Oh, you do? You don't want me to introduce it? I thought maybe I'll introduce it. Yes, it's a Trini takeover.
Well, you gotta.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's stick it there. Good morning. Was it afternoon? Good afternoon, UK Black Pride. Hello, everyone. My name is Jason Jones. I'm an activist from Trinidad and Tobago. I'm Tringlish. I'm half black, half white, half Trini, half English, so Tringlish. And in 2015, I don't know how many of you know, but out of the 64 countries in the world that criminalize LGBTQ plus people, 34 of them are former colonies of Britain. Like Trinidad and Tobago and the entire English-speaking Caribbean, we carry the British colonial era buggery laws.
12 of them are punishable by death.
Not in the Caribbean,
No.
but we did have, Barbados used to have the life sentence for buggery. I mean, it's ridiculous. In Trinidad and Tobago, it was 25 years.
No, of the
So-
64 meant.
Oh, okay. So after going to the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in 2015 and being very frustrated by the lack of movement on queer rights in the Commonwealth, I decided I was going to take my country to court. And in 2018, I won a landmark victory at the High Court that criminalized. This short film, it's only 30 minutes long. This short film follows me that morning. Just to give you a bit of background, the night before, we had received bomb threats. The court received bomb threats. I myself have received over 500 death threats, including a fatwa on my head by local Muslims in Trinidad and Tobago. So this work carries a lot of danger in our countries, our home countries, and the work has to happen here to help dismantle this heinous British colonial era legacy. Not enough is being done by organizations like Stonewall, etc., to help dismantle. So we need to be much louder about this work and what needs to happen so that we're not leaving our queer siblings behind in the global south. Do enjoy the film. Ow. All right, how are you?
How are things?
It's D-Day.
Yeah,
Are you coming to the court?
I'm hoping,
Okay.
but I don't know.
Okay. Did you see the bomb threat, etc. last night?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I just saw it actually. The one that you sent?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit concerned.
I spoke to lawyers late, and I said, what are your thoughts? And they said the same thing, but we have to go through that, huh?
Yeah. But just be very careful.
I will. Anyway, I hope I see you.
Yeah, cool.
All right.
Okay.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.
La ilaha illallah! La ilaha illallah! La ilaha illallah! La ilaha illallah!
I think that our justice will be done today. I think Trinidad and Tobago is ready for this, and I think our judge has been asking some very poignant questions of the Attorney General and his advocate. He asked him in the court hearing, why does the government want to retain these laws? He asked him 4 times, and the advocate could not answer. Because there isn't an answer. There's no reason for these laws to exist on our books anymore.
Removing the law simply makes it easy for them to go to the parliament and have their changes made. But this country has God-fearing people. And God says in Leviticus what to do. He said what to do with people like that. We're not doing that today, we're protesting.
Yes, I'm preaching love and compassion. And also, there's a message on this side. And God wants you to grow. He makes you uncomfortable.
But what on that dress and coming out my house and saying like that boy try come to this war? All you will pay any money to get this boy. That's why all you confused today. All you will pay any kind of money to get this as man. God make all you a man, not a woman. You're wicked. Wicked, yeah. You're wicked.
So he's making both sides uncomfortable. On our side, for us to grow as a community and to claim our space. And with respect to the religious, those who believe what they believe, where Christianity is concerned, for them to grow out of their single-mindedness.
You don't know him. That's why he drank a whole city of Sodom and Gomorrah. Because he loved them. He loved them, and so he wronged them. I don't know. He didn't love them.
He doesn't love them?
No, at all. He said so in the Bible.
But doesn't it say in the Quran as one of the articles of faith that all actions come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and every result of it is of him?
Yes, but
so then isn't that a result of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
No, that is not a result of Allah. Allah said what is to be done with those people. So when a man hold on a man now is rape. So they feminize the man. So if I hold you down here now, what the court going to charge me for? Burglary.
What's your objection to feminizing men?
Boss, come out from the front. That's what I will tell you. As you are asking me what is my problem to feminize men, because he's a man. And I hope you is a man. All right? You have a wife?
I have a wife.
You're heterosexual then? Oh! He's heterosexual. I am not. I am fully masculine sexual, and it's good. Thanks for the...
This is not a case about religious and moral beliefs, but is one about the inalienable rights of a citizen under the Republican Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago. Any citizen, all citizens. This is a case about the dignity of the person and not about the will of the majority or any religious debate. History has proven that the two do not always coincide, as can be seen by the subjugation and virtual extinction of the indigenous First Nation people upon the discovery of the New World, the Jewish experience in Nazi Germany, and the radical religious justification adopted by the Ku Klux Klan to justify its reign of terror and hate.
And everybody has their right to hold on to what the Bible says and hold on to what the Quran says. And we want our right to hold on to what our hearts say and to live by that in peace with the rest of the society. We don't want nobody to go nowhere. We don't want nobody to go nowhere.
We want no kids! We want no kids! Call the police on me! We want no kids!
We are fabulous and we are lovable. That's right.
It's about time coming. It's about time for let them come.
The time is here.
Yes.
The time is
No,
here.
yes. Fire hot.
Don't worry. The time
fire hot.
You're right. You're right.
It's hot.
The blood won't be on the hands. It won't be on the hands. You can do only anything. All the blood legal.
In a case such as this, she or he must be able to make decisions as to whom she or he loves, incorporates in his or her life, who she or he wishes to live with and make a family with, and not live with, under the constant threat of the proverbial sword of Damocles hanging over them, that at any moment he or she may be persecuted or prosecuted. That is the threat that exists at present. It is a threat that is sanctioned by the state. That sanction is an important sanction because it can tend to justify in the mind of differently minded members of society that the very lifestyle, life, and existence of a person who chooses to live in that way, that the claimant does, is criminal. Sections 13 and 16 have been proven not to be reasonably justifiable in a society that has proper respect for the rights and freedoms of the individual.
Therefore, the court is of the respectful view that the claimant has proven his case.
The court declares that sections 13 and 16 of the Act are unconstitutional, illegal, null, void, invalid, and are of no effect to the extent that these laws criminalize any acts constituting consensual sexual conduct between adults.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Wait, this way, this way. Hello. Hi, everyone. Yes, where do you want me? It's a stunning victory, not just for me and not just for the LGBT community of Trinidad and Tobago, but literally LGBT people around the world. Over 75 million LGBT Commonwealth citizens are still criminalized using these British colonial era laws.
It's not final. It's not final.
No, but
The judge said it's adjourned.
yeah, but
until
we
the
asking
court-
for a comment. I mean,
Okay, yes. What do you want us to say?
we asking you.
We respect the judge's judgment
Could you
for
come
now.
Yeah,
We respect the
Thanks.
judge's judgment, and we have time to recalibrate. It still has to go to the government, to the parliament, and we are going to have a massive rally. It's not over.
Hang on, you promised a massive rally today. Where is it?
It's not over. It's not over.
Where's the massive?
I want to commend Bishop Gill and the other Christian brothers who started it. We are the Muslims who felt that Allah says when people are doing good things, you ought to join with them. That is what Allah says. And they have started it, and we have now joined with them to continue the struggle that this law will stay in place.
Equality cannot be strained by the majority. Equality means equal for every citizen. Right now, I'm still a second-class citizen. So whatever you enjoy, every single freedom you have, I want it too. And I will chase that. I will not stop until I have everything that a straight Trinbagonian has.
Thank you so much. So, just give you a bit of background. I work completely independently. No LGBT organization in the world has supported this case. They all said I would fail. So that victory on April 12, 2018 has led to the decriminalization of 6 countries, including India, the world's largest democracy. So far, my work has decriminalized over 8 million LGBT people around the world. What happens next? We had the Court of Appeal hearing in Trinidad and Tobago in March, and they recriminalized. They overturned this judgment. Yeah. But interestingly, not only did they recriminalize us, but they used a 1925 British colonial era law to criminalize LGBTQ plus people. Colonialism is still alive and well.
Yes.
And we need to face these facts. And I also want to make it very clear, especially to us in the diaspora, that what's happening in the global south is coming to bite us in the ass here. So don't sit.
Already has.
Don't wait there thinking this is just some backwater, small island place. The work that these evangelicals are doing in Africa and the Caribbean is to come back and get us here. They have spent billions of dollars over the last 3 decades fighting against our community in Africa and the Caribbean. The organizations that went into the courtroom, they spent millions on the top lawyers in the Caribbean and UK to fight against our rights. So we need to pull together as a community and make sure that we're not leaving our siblings behind in the global south. It can't be just UK Black Pride. It has to be Black Pride around the world. And we need to do far more in making that noise, especially here. So please, the call to action, write to your MP here and ask them, what are you doing to dismantle this heinous British colonial era legacy? These are laws that were created here and spread across 3/4 of the planet through colonialism. So we need to do the work here. And finally, I'll just open the floor to any quick questions. Yes, hello.
Well, I'm an old Zami, a lessee maker from back home, Trinidad as well.
Oh, lovely.
It was hard. I'm 80 now.
Right.
It was hard when I was growing up.
Yes, yes.
I was beaten with bicycle tire, blah, blah, blah. And I never really came out of the cupboard until I was 60.
Yes.
Because I thought I was old enough to do what I please, not my family or not anybody around me.
Yes.
And so therefore, I am so pleased.
Thank you.
That you.
Thank you. Well, you know, I have to say, the people that you saw outside of court, this was the largest public LGBT demonstration in the English Caribbean in history. It was the first time that people came out onto the streets. And 3 months later, they had their first ever public pride parade. So this work, I want to tell you something. I don't give a sorry, I don't I don't care about changing hearts and minds. What I care about is how we change the hearts and minds of ourselves.
That's right.
So when you do this work, make sure that it's about you first. Put yourself first. What are you getting out of this? We can't keep fighting against homophobes because they're always going to be there. That's not where the key change needs to happen. It needs to happen. You know, and I have to say, one of the proudest things that I got 3 emails from young 16-year-old boys at very prestigious colleges in Trinidad saying that they were going to commit suicide until they saw me on TV and felt that there was hope for them as a queer person in Trinidad. That's where the change happens. So when you leave this space, think about peer-to-peer work. What can you do in one person's ear? Because that then creates change. Yes, I've done big things, but the small things all add up to big things. Yes.
Love and respect you, as you know already. And I know that you do a lot of mentoring and work with young people.
Yes.
And I think as, you know, with your activism and the work you do, what advice can you give people around the room today or those online? Because I think it's really important to share how you've managed to achieve and do what you've done for other people to do, because our fight has only just begun.
Yes.
And looking at the world today, and as a community, especially those of us that are Black and brown, the struggles that we're facing, the struggles the trans community, especially are facing when it comes to their rights.
Yes.
Globally, what's happening in America, the fact that, you know, less than 30 days, the Trevor Project is going to have their suicide helpline pulled. You know, we've got to work together. So what advice would you give to your mentees that we can kind of collectively use to help each other?
I think the first thing is visibility. And I do want to recognize a gentleman in the room, Ted Brown.
Yes.
Ted was one of the founders of the Gay Liberation Front, the first LGBT organization in Britain, and he was on the first ever Pride March in 1972. So I think what we need to do is make sure that we're visible. Visibility literally saves lives. For example, me being on television in Trinidad and Tobago saved those 3 young lives. So visibility at all costs. Don't put yourself in danger, but find ways to be visible. Do it in your office. Do it at your family dinner. You know, when Auntie Violet says some stupid homophobic or transphobic thing and you don't want to mess up Christmas lunch, you know, mess up Christmas lunch. All around. All around. Yes, you know, that's where the change happened. It's when we remain small, that's when they win. Don't keep yourself small in these spaces. And these little incremental changes are literally so important. Big things are important, but I really am, I believe in the power of incremental change. I'm 62. I've seen it all. I survived Margaret Thatcher. I survived Section 28. I survived AIDS. So we will survive this time.
That's right.
Ted.
In view of some projects that we're hoping to build in the next year or two, I wanted to ask whether you think it's important to employ lawyers and a legal team that are personally committed to the issues, or do you just need lawyers who are skillful at law? Do you think it makes a difference?
I mean, you need a bit of both. I mean, I recently have changed my legal team, and it's because a gentleman became available who is really important in the Caribbean legal scene, and he's a man of color. And, you know, I think that we do have too many white knights in this work, and we do have to kind of say thanks, but no thanks. We can handle it from here. And there's a shift that's happening right now, and this is why UK Black Pride exists for the last 20 years. Because we were excluded from Pride. Pride was white people thing. And we were not invited. And I can say this because I stopped going to London Pride many years ago. So UK Black Pride is an example of us taking control of the narrative and saying, I don't want to sit at your table, I'll create my own. So it's a bit of both. I think that we also have to empower those within our community who may not be able to be public. So a lot of queer and Black lawyers in the big city firms can't be out, can't be loud, but they can come and do stuff behind the scenes. So network, you know, when you come to events, when you meet somebody, find out what they do. Keep it in your Rolodex of your mind and go, oh, wait a minute, I met that person at that cocktail thing, that person may be able to help that person. This is how we work as a Black community. And that's how we empower each other. So keep that networking happening. That's the most important thing, I think. Thanks, Ted. Hello.
I just wanted to ask, because you were talking about our international collaboration and putting pressure on this side as well for the stuff going on in our home country. Over the years, where have you found has been the point where the pressure most applied was the most effective?
I mean, if you look at what's happening in Eastern Africa, there was a really good pressure happening from Western governments, and then it all kind of went a bit crazy. And now we're kind of lost East Africa to the homophobes. I mean, I don't know how we're going to save it. Caribbean is now the next round. And let me tell you, we need to fight. You cannot remain silent on this. And I really implore you, please write to your MP. There is money and power in Westminster to help fight this, but they're not hearing from us. So we need to get out there and get loud and get angry. Thank you.
Yes, we have. Couldn't agree more. I think also creating change doesn't have to be grand gestures. It can be little things that you can do. And they do all add up. And I think in terms of what you were saying about what's going on in the global south, we see that that's been going on for quite a while, but now we're seeing the repercussions and the planning that they've been doing. And I think what it sounds like we need the most is resources. Where do we pull these resources? Where do you pull resources and money so that the global south, communities here in the UK and Europe can defend themselves? And there's a few charities trying out there, providing legal aid, supporting queer people all across the globe, such as Give Out. They pull money and donation. It helps for legal funds. I spoke to a Nigerian queer charity that gets support from them. Just finding out and knowing that these charities exist and they support queer people all across the world, I think is important, especially if you're like, where do I put my money? I know this is going on. Where should it be going? So this is hearing about these charities, check them out, check out Give Out, go to some of their events. They're based in the UK, but for a while, I think we've been doing so many things in silo, so many things within our community, but we stopped talking to each other. We stopped talking about the things that are working. If there's something working up in Manchester, tell us in London. If in London we've discovered something great, why aren't we sharing it with people up north? Resources need to be shared, and we have to be able to start by talking to each other. And also, Jason pointed out that not everybody in our community can come out as well. This week is the start of Refugee Week, which has started. And there are a few queer people in our community that we know have never attended Pride. So one of also the reasons why UK Pride has remained free for so long is that we don't want that to be a barrier. If you're an asylum seeker or refugee, you don't have that funds. If you live outside of London, how do you come into London? Last year, UK Black Pride provided buses to bring some young people and some asylum seekers and refugees from Manchester into the event. So there's different ways in supporting. If you live, I don't know, up in Scotland, can you share a ride with somebody so that they can come down? We need to start going back again and thinking about things, train rides, can you donate extra money so somebody else can get a train ticket to come to UK Black Pride? All of these things I think are so important. They're not grand, but they will make a remarkable difference in somebody else's life. So if you're not aware, I wanted to kind of flag Micro Rainbow, who are an LGBTQ charity that support asylum seekers and refugees. They provide housing. They do a lot of skill-based training from employment, education programs. And they've been around for so long. And Maud, who's also on the board for UK Black Pride, is the director, and she's been with them for so many years. So again, volunteering, finding different ways to support our community is so important. So if you've never heard of Micro Rainbow, do check them out. Right, I am mindful of time, but we have Olivia Campbell Cavendish, who is actually the founder and the director of Translegal Clinic. She's not able to join us in person, but she'll be able to join us online. So Olivia, I know you've managed to get on now, so thank you for joining us. You should be able to speak freely and unmute yourself. There she is. Welcome, Olivia. You're still on mute, so you can unmute.
Hello. Hi, how's it going?
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for choosing a decent picture of me for the slide. You. We've had some monstrosities in the past, so thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Can you tell everybody what's Translegal Clinic? Why did you start it? And just a summary of how you are and how things are for you, especially because of the Supreme Court ruling and everything else.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you to UK Black Pride, to Stonewall, to Nix, and to Aisha and all of the organising team for creating this space. Because now more than ever, I mean, every year UK Black Pride is a really important space, but now more than ever, this community roundtable is necessary. It's absolutely necessary that we come together and have these discussions about how we can pool resources and what we as a movement do. Because, and I want to start off being really clear about this, the solutions aren't coming from our white counterparts. They're not. They're not coming to save us. They never have, and they never will. That's not news to anybody in the room, but I just wanted to give space to that at the very outset. So my name is Olivia Campbell Cavendish. I'm a human rights and civil liberties lawyer and founder of the Translegal Clinic. And the Translegal Clinic is the UK's first law firm to specialise in the law as it intersects with gender identity. So we provide services across 4 core service areas: housing and homelessness, with 1 in 4 trans and non-binary people having a lived experience of homelessness; gender-based violence, which for us is inclusive of domestic and sexual violence, as well as hate crime and actions against the police. And we know, don't we, that the police are often the biggest perpetrators of gender-based violence. We saw that in the wake of Sarah Everard, but also in the wake of the ruling in for Women Scotland and the Scottish ministers in April. The British Transport Police were the first to unlawfully, we say, enact policy based on the judgment, to the effect that male police officers would now begin strip searching trans women detainees. So that's housing and homelessness, gender-based violence. Sorry, I was sidetracked by how awful the police are. Gender-based violence, discrimination, which, you know, does what it says on the tin, and gender recognition. That is the process of achieving institutional and social recognition of one's acquired gender, changing your name, your passport, your details with the bank. And we really do take over that whole process, right through to gender recognition certificate, to contacting people's employers and getting those administrative bits and bobs done. I want to be clear, the work that we do is life-saving work. And the Translegal Clinic is a service that is by and for trans and non-binary people. I want to challenge ever so slightly some of the discussion earlier about legal services and lawyers, and whether we should have well-meaning allies or people with skin in the game. I say that we must always have people with skin in the game. We need, at this moment in time, we need movement lawyers. We need lawyers who aren't just good, because no matter how, you know, a good lawyer is, first of all, very, very hard to come by. And the defining characteristic of a good lawyer is always, in my view, whether they've got skin in the game. At this moment in time, I feel that as a Black trans woman and as the founder and executive director of the Translegal Clinic, I feel very strongly that I have been for a number of years now the canary in the coal mine. And I say this because this trans legal crisis, it didn't begin in April with this Supreme Court judgment. And in fact, it's been burning in the lives of our clients, your friends, your siblings, your loved ones, our community for a long, long time. A long, long time for Black, racialized, disabled, neurodiverse, migrant, trans and non-binary people, and really any other trans and non-binary people who are in any way marginalized. And I want to set something else out very clearly. These attacks, they are unmistakably, and they have always been, legal and legislative attacks exclusively. And in our organizations and in our work, legals are often an afterthought. But the opposition have chosen the battlefield, and they've chosen a battlefield where they know that they outgun us. When I'm called to the bar, I'll be the first Black trans woman called to the bar of England and Wales in history. An achievement, sure, but more than that, horrifying. Speaks to the extent to which we as a people, and in particular Black and racialized trans and non-binary people and queer people more broadly, the extent to which we have been excluded from the conversation around our rights since the beginning of time. That was to say, my being the first Black trans woman to be called to the bar, that until that point, until that happened, we have had no voice in this conversation. And so in the wake of the ruling, some new players have entered this space. We've got incredible colleagues at Liberty and the Good Law Project doing schemes of work around trans rights and queer liberation that is fantastic and very important. There's no crossover with the work that we do at the Trans Legal Clinic because our focus is solely on access to justice. The work done by the other incredible organizations that are stepping into the trans rights area of law, and it's very underdeveloped. This is sort of high level judicial review and human rights, European Court of Human Rights stuff, and that's super, super important. That's almost like a vertical area of work. They're doing stuff that's so high level that it's so powerful. For us at the Trans Legal Clinic, our work has a horizontal impact. For us, it's about mobilizing legal services and, in fact, scrap that, legal services. It's about mobilizing trans rights. It's about making rights, civil liberties for trans and non-binary people enforceable for as many trans and non-binary people as humanly possible. In fact, scratch that again, for all trans and for all queer people. That's what we need to see. We want to see access to justice for trans and non-binary people in the context of a world where there is access to justice for queer people, in the context of a world where there is access to justice for all people. And so to that effect, what do we need to do? Well, the attack that we're seeing right now is, quite frankly, unprecedented. It's an international attack on trans rights in legislature halls and courtrooms across the globe, not just here in the UK. These are legal attacks. They've always been legal and legislative attacks, case in point, Section 28, and in fact, all of the previous derisions on LGBTQ+ rights that have built our beautiful and incredible and powerful movement. Right now, we need to have a laser-like focus on action. And in Black and brown queer communities and in our movement, we've always had this laser-like focus on action. And so I speak to you today with an appeal for support. Following the ruling, the Trans Legal Clinic launched the Trans Legal Fund. Now, we are a grassroots registered charity. I don't take a salary. We're completely unfunded. I want to be frank, we have no money, but in response to this ruling, we've now had to develop financial resources very, very quickly. We have launched the Trans Legal Fund, a pot of money to pool resources so that we can fund the individual fights of individual trans and non-binary people across the UK. Our work is of central importance to the movement, and the movement needs, for its own good, to get behind the work of the Trans Legal Clinic because we are the front line, the first line of defense for our people. And I want to leave you on one final consideration. There's no us and them when it comes to LGBT queer people and trans and intersex queer people. I want to be clear that transphobes, homophobes, bigots, they don't know the difference. They can't distinguish between us. To them, and as Black and brown queer people, this will be familiar to us. To them, we are just other than. And in fact, the facts and the figures speak to this, particularly in relation to hate crime, which I was given, I was going to say the profound honor, but no, it wasn't an honor. I was dismayed. I was given the opportunity to speak in Parliament on the impact of anti-trans hate crime. And one of my core takeaways is that anti-trans hate crime actually doesn't just affect trans people. And my big worry about that is that what is at stake is any form of gender divergence, any form of gender nonconformity, and that includes any form of rebellion against heteronormativity. They can't tell the difference between myself, yourselves, your trans siblings, and your lesbian, gay, and bisexual siblings. They don't care. And so when they come for us, it's not that they will be coming for you next. In their mind's eye, they are coming for you because we collectively, we horrify them, because we pose a challenge to their supposition of what normal is, right? We break out of these sort of colonial ideas of sex, gender, and relationships, and into the territory of true freedom, true liberty. And so I say, now is the time for us as a community to do what we do best, to band together, to pool our resources, to hold hands, and to fight. We are a community of resistance, we are a community of liberation, and we have something that the other side will never have. We have each other. We have years and years of rich and colourful history of liberation. This is not our first rodeo, and sadly, it won't be the last. But if we band together, we've got this. And I suppose that's all there is to say.
You're right. I mean, first Pride was a riot. I mean, we know how to fight, so here we go again. Thank you so much. Do we have any questions in the room?
Okay, let's go to Yvonne. How do we get in contact with the clinic?
Oh, how do we get in contact with the clinic?
Yeah, so I mean, our email address is info@translegalclinic.com, and that will be shared around by the incredible organisers. We're on Instagram. Our website is translegalclinic.com. My email is olivia@translegalclinic.com. Although I probably will just respond sending you my WhatsApp, because my inbox since the judgment has become a terrifying place to be, just because of the influx of referrals that we've had. Yeah, there's a million and one. Connect with me directly is probably the best way. There's a million and one ways of getting in contact with us. I suppose that we've not been the best at outreach. And actually, even though we're a huge team, there's 70 of us. We're massive. We're a massive organization. But because our work is so heavily casework focused, it leaves very little time for marketing and community outreach and, you know, doing the things that we ought to for movement building, which is the name of the game today, right? We've not been the best at those things. We do two things really, really well. The first thing is our casework. We achieve results consistently. And the second thing is our reputation. The community trusts us. They know us, and there's, you know, a running joke in some of our client participation groups that we want to get the number 0800 translegal, because even before the judgment, when trans people were experiencing unlawful discrimination, when they were being refused access to single-sex spaces, I'm calling them sex-segregated spaces. We'll all know in this room that this is a return to segregation. It's a borrow from one of the sickest playbooks in history. And our clients say, you know, we need to get that number. We need to get 0800 translegal, because that's what people do. They have these experiences and they get straight onto us. And so I suppose as a grassroots movement, we don't have the capacity to be as good as we want to at socials. I mean, we do pretty well with socials, at socials, bits and bobs.
I've got one more question from Ted. Ted, what's your question?
Yeah.
Well, it's a question and a point. The question is, how do we deal with queer members of the queer community, lesbians and feminists, for example, who was seen celebrating after the Supreme Court decision. They're part of our community in theory, and yet they're rejecting trans people so brutally. That's the first question. How do we deal with them? Are they still part of our community?
Mhm.
And the point is, am I right in thinking that the reason that there has been no need to define trans men is because it's all part of a patriarchal way of controlling women?
I would wholly agree with the second point. Were you done? Sorry.
Yes, those were amazing points. Yes, thank you so
What
much.
was your name? Sorry, I'm not in the room, so I can't see
That's,
who
that
I'm.
was from Ted Brown. He's one of the founders of the Gay Liberation Front.
Thank you, Ted. That was such a powerful question. I'm going to answer the easier question first. I think you are absolutely right. This is the opposition love to ask this question, don't they? What is a woman? My answer is very, very consistent and quite straightforward. If men have ever tried to tell you what you can or can't do with your body, then it's my view that you are a woman under those circumstances. And so on a personal note, I read this judgment as quite affirming of my womanhood and the womanhood of trans women more broadly, but quite worrying for womanhood more generally. And so it's been widely peddled that the effect of the judgment is that trans women aren't women. The Supreme Court didn't say that, and at paragraph 2 of the judgment, they said, we are not redefining the term woman in its ordinary or general legal purposes. We're only talking about, for the purposes of Section 11 of the Equality Act of 2010, the sex-based protections. We're saying that Parliament weren't talking about trans women when they used the word woman on that day. The Supreme Court made a big mistake then when they said, so trans women can still benefit from the protections of Section 11 of the Equality Act of 2010, sex, where they are perceived as female. First question, what on God's earth does that mean? And in particular, the Supreme Court thought that this would be good for trans people because they said that these same terms would apply to transgender and cisgender women alike. That is to say that it seems to be from the Supreme Court that if a cisgender woman does not meet the standards of femininity, perceived femininity, whatever on God's earth that will come to mean, she too will not benefit from the sex-based protections in the Equality Act of 2010 if she is perceived to be transgender, regardless of whether she is or if she isn't. If she doesn't meet that social standard, that highly Eurocentric standard, I assume, of perceived femininity, she won't be protected from discrimination either. That answers your first point. Your second question and point, I hope. And to answer your first question, you know, gang, I don't know. Honestly,
they're still part of the
love lesbians, and I just that is I'm the girl with all the answers, but my God, I get them all from my lesbians, so I don't know what I don't know what to say. I think maybe we love them quietly, and look, how do we deal with our look, we're a room full of like black and brown queers. How do we deal with our Aunt Irene?
Yeah,
how do we deal with her? We love her from a distance.
She's not invited to the cookout.
We're gonna put her correct. We're gonna run her straight. We love you, Auntie, because we must, because we are family. But for the love of God, sense. Yeah, I think, I don't know. I mean, do you know what? I'd like to open that to the room. What do we do, gang?
That's food for thought for sure. Thank you so much, Olivia. We really, really appreciate you joining. Thank you so much. We've got a little section left, just a few minutes, and then I know it feels like it's getting a little bit chilly, isn't it? Yeah, hot. Yeah, it's getting a bit chilly. We can start off when we come back. Please take a break. Speak to them about so we come back at 3 o'clock. Yeah, 3 o'clock. Grab some food.
Do you stay on?
Okay.
It's a good question. I can only work in that book about this question.
Don't need to get up.
I see your name. You know what? Oh, the same. Oh, the same.
Maybe I'm over, I don't know. I don't know anybody. But I have met some lesbian.
You are on the section.
You do.
It's really a pleasure to meet you. Do you go home much or?
I took them. I said it to everybody.
Don't say to them that you want.
No, yeah.
Yeah. Just too much.
Did you see the photographs of J.K. Rowling smoking a cigar? That's saying something.
We're sharing commune.
You don't mind, do you?
No. But I can't smooth it because
All of used to read.
I know how I feel. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Hello, Ted. Say hello. How are you?
You're chairing the.
Can I get you in?
Gonna go as well.
Can I get you in?
No, I think I'm just gonna have a
And healthy.
coffee or something and.
How long are you going to be healthy for?
Just do it.
It's not.
Okay.
More chesty at the moment, going around.
Yeah.
Go get yourself some snacks because I'm holding you up and everything. But yeah, it's a good question. Saba?
Hello, how are you?
I'm not too bad. We have met. We met online at the first UNC training, and then we met at Black Prize.
No.
And now I'm your volunteer manager.
Bring it in, bring it in. I need to do, like a. Yes, I do recognise you.
Somewhere.
Yes,
One of you guys now.
yeah, welcome.
Yes, this
I was
is.
trying to remember that. I was like,
I remember
I recognise him.
Well, yeah,
Saying-
online training sessions.
You were?
and then but yeah.
You're right, oh yeah. No. I suddenly remembered that actually I'm not a 15-year-old agile young gymnast anymore.
I saw you online at another event. Totally unrelated. It was no, it was good. It was good. It was last year, and I think it was EC. I think it was Southeast Asian event.
And
It was a mixture of that. It was a mixture of. I think they were doing some intersectionality. I don't know if they were doctors or what have you not.
even that I didn't know.
And
either.
it was an event, right?
The difference.
Oh, okay.
You weren't. No, you was asking a question.
For you.
For me,
For you, because we have.
There was a.
City.
It might have been some, but there was a guy. I'm sure there was a guy who was
Singapore.
LGBT, the Pink Choir. There was a couple of doctors.
So, but if it's online, it's
A couple of doctors.
I can do.
There's a young guy. He was a doctor, and then there was a trans woman. She was a doctor, or she was a lawyer. Something. It was one of them. I caught it on the back of. I was signed up for it. You were on there. That cool.
I just like lots of people as Lexi will confirm. That I will see.
I know you're gonna head off, aren't you? You're able.
I can tell.
Well, I just like order and things structured and done.
Does that help?
it would actually.
So that was a good opportunity to just get a quick team picture of the girls.
Place. Yeah.
Channel this energy to this situation, right?
So if.
Oh, are you?
Okay.
Okay.
I'm so sorry to interrupt. with us.
Oh, let me.
So I'm so sorry.
Right, don't worry.
It's all right.
We've got half an hour. You can have a cup. Yeah, is that all right? It's gonna be in here.
Oh, okay, I'll just say it.
Yeah.
Do you know what's our life ordered lives? That's my sister. I was just so used to having to go and get sorted.
Yeah.
Go and get See you in a bit.
We're gonna have a catch up then.
Okay, there is coffee, tea.
Oh, I don't need to be told twice.
So that you can, yeah.
Need a good, thank you. See you there. Thank you. Have a little bag.
Oh, I've got a big bag as well.
It's only just half an hour.
But you can go and get this.
No, I want to eat with you. Sorry, you don't want me. Okay, bye.
I'm here a few moments ago as well. I was like, why is it so quiet? Yeah. So yeah, she was asking me about Black Pride. So I volunteered the last time I volunteered for them.
Record you.
Wait. Huh?
Wait, let me record you properly. I don't have my stuff with me.
Right. And we're like logging on to Teams, like, yeah, do this, yeah. I just want to this, yeah. Turn off. Come back. Carly, social worker call. That's how I'm yeah, she agreed. There you go.
Oh no, we haven't started.
Yeah. So would have much better been in public now,
Remind me of being. This is. There you go. Just because it's heavy. Okay. There you go. That works. All right. Okay. Look at you. No, you don't. Just look at me. Next to the camera, you guys. Just look at me. I get nervous. I'm a chatterbox, but I'm really shy. So the last time I volunteered for Black Pride was when we were still down based at Vauxhall. When did you first go to Black Pride? Ooh, when we were at Vauxhall. Gosh. At Vauxhall? Yeah. So this is what, 5 years ago? Okay. 5 years ago. 2020. Vauxhall. No, because the pandemic. The 2019 would have been the last one. Yes. And actually, no, because I'm pretty sure 2019 was Haggerston. No, I'm pretty sure we were Vauxhall, then the pandemic. Or was it Vauxhall, then Elizabeth Park, and then the pandemic? For you? Were you missing? There was 1 year in Haggerston. Remember, we missed one because of the pandemic. Yeah, but before, I think pre-pandemic was Haggerston. The one time we were in Haggerston Park, and it was, and immediately we were too big for Haggerston Park, so that's why we moved to Elizabeth. Yes. So yeah, so the last time was the time before Haggerston Park. Was when you first went. Yes. You asked if my first time that I went to Black Pride was my first time volunteering. Oh, well. Okay. And basically how that came about is because I used to volunteer for London Pride. Correction, I've always volunteered for Pride since when I was in New York. So then when I came to London, I started volunteering for London Pride. But what ended up happening is that it was myself, there were 3 Asian guys, there was 2 Black girls, and for some reason we all ended up together in this group. We were the dispatch team. And then what we started noticing, and there was a lot of controversy around London Pride about this, is that there was a lot of discrimination. And then what we started realizing, they would use our group pictures on all of their diversity things. So when it was a London Pride party, talking about how diverse they are, my picture and my friend was on their ticket. I'm like, what's going on here? And any diversity thing they had, they would use our group picture. And I was like, what? And obviously when you start working behind the scenes, you start hearing certain stuff. So after that I was done, I was like, yeah, you're not going to be using me like this, because even after we had finished our dispatch in different groups, 6 o'clock in the morning, 6:30, we would then walk down the road and it was like it was invisible. Even though we were wearing bright yellow shirts, and then the pride was invisible. And I was just like, well, I don't want to really be a part of this. And I just didn't know like what to do or where to go, because I always volunteer. And then I remember I was working for advocacy at this time, and I was placed in a building in Dalston. And then I saw Lady Phyll in the building, and it was another organization that she before she started working with them, she was telling me, I think they were doing like trans rights and things like that as well. And then we just started speaking, and I was like, yeah, I keep hearing this thing about this Black Pride thingy. I told her it was, and she was like, yeah, I don't know
I've read Pride, before, and then we just started speaking, and then I just Googled it, and I think it was literally a few weeks later, it was training. So I just put myself in the training because, I'm random like that. And so, yeah, my first Black Pride was my first year volunteering and first kind of as well. And yeah, it was really interesting to see so many people that look like you. It was bizarre in the sense of I felt comfortable, but it was also surreal at the same time. It was like, we're okay. So yeah, and that was my introduction to like Black Pride. So like every so often I'll see like Aisha, she'll post like events or correction, I will see events being posted dealing with POC people in the community. And a lot of times when I go to the organizers, I'll then see Aisha's name. I'm like, of course. Of course. And yeah, so that's how I came into Black Pride.
And when was the last time you volunteered for New York Pride before you had volunteered for UK Black Pride? Because New York Pride's pretty diverse.
Yeah, when I officially left New York way back in 2002. That's the last time.
That's the last time. Okay. So that's the last time you'd been in a Pride setting that where you could see a lot of people that look like you, basically.
No.
What in between?
New York Pride, it's not as vanilla as London Pride, but it's still, I would kind of say it's like 50-50.
Okay.
And I think as well at that time as well, you found more males that was going. So you wasn't really finding a lot of females. Okay. I ended up, so in New York, you have a place called the Village, or it used to be the Village. And I would end up seeing some of my female friends there. And I'm like, what you doing here? And I'm like, what you doing here? Because they haven't officially fully came out. And a lot of them were from my Caribbean background stuff as well. So even during Pride, I wasn't really seeing, you would still see females, but we were still always outnumbered by the males. So you had that, and then you have color as well. Whereas with Black Pride, I'm seeing a healthy mix of diversity. So I still wouldn't even compare it to New York. New York's definitely diverse, but I felt it was still heavily male dominated, which I see in London Pride as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I volunteered for London Pride, I think, for like,
you see in London Pride, yeah.
Very, very heavily male dominated. So it was just kind of like you kind of stick yourself in, you fit in. But yeah, New York Pride as well. But again, like I said, this was ages ago. It could have changed, but from what I've seen, and then most of my people in the community in New York as well, most of them are male. to be fair, so a lot of pictures I probably would see is probably who they're trying to talk to. But yeah, no, it's been interesting and an experience, and I think last year when we was at Pride as well, to see the amount of people, because like I said, I first saw that Vauxhall, so to see it from Vauxhall to Elizabeth Park, I was like, where are all these people from? I have found so many people at Black Pride who I know in other settings, like, because I'm heavily on the soca scene. I saw so many people there last year. I even saw some of the soca photographers. They looked at me, I looked at them. It was like the look. So many people in the community that we don't even know. Yeah. And I think that's what's been interesting. To see how many of us are out there. When sometimes I actually now forget that people are straight.
Yeah.
I just don't really
why would you be doing that?
I just don't really associate. So even sometimes at work or wherever, like say something and I'm like, oh, I actually don't know what to I keep forgetting people actually. I'm actually homosexual. So I keep forgetting because I go to a lot of like events, stuff like that, and just naturally, like how I said, even like I think several just cope with it in the moment.
Yeah, I think that's an issue. I'm happy to
just automatically.
Oh no,
and then even
if not, then
it's neutral.
I don't mind being.
Otherwise, like, oh yes, change.
It is, isn't it?
No, it's fine. Because we learn how to answer, what questions and respect people's boundaries. So automatically I do that, and then I have to remember.
We need to be here, aren't we?
Everybody's like that. So yeah, but yeah, that's been.
Do you think that's been? Yes, how is from there?
You're right. Tell me you're shy. Don't tell nobody can't be getting shy. But you know, ask me know that as well. She getting shy. I'm like,
this world. I can't know what your face is because you also know.
I feel you're not.
That'd be the perspective. That'd be the perspective on food.
Hydrating.
Yes, that's very true.
That's for Soca Festival.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yes, no, yeah, that's right, Ben Brown. That's like a common theme as well, because they have, that's barbecue, this big thing that's coming up.
Yes, yes.
But
Somebody was posting about it. Is that you?
yes, this, no. It's a Saturday, we went to mass barbecue.
Yeah.
Hooked up with one of
It's still not great, but I ate
So we're now there on
some
Sunday.
salad.
Oh,
So
okay.
everybody at Pedigree Mass Barbecue started with all that piece of money. We're gonna get the same simple experience with all the rides and stuff.
Well, you don't like them, give me their name.
That's good to
Enjoy
know.
your picnic.
Right, 5 minutes from my house. I'm definitely gonna enjoy that.
Oh, is
I'm
it?
going to park like around the corner. Make sure they like 6 minutes.
Oh,
here to come to the park.
What was going on?
I think they said what? Yeah, whenever you sleep.
So how was
You're gonna be at your thing all day.
the reception?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually got, let me see, we're gonna have food, circus ride. But yeah, I'm also looking for a ride. Yeah, I've been on a ride that music. I'm gonna have so much fun.
Fair enough.
I miss the I mean, the weather's here for it, so.
Is that?
Sorry? The weather has arrived to that lifestyle, so.
Seen anyone drink?
I'm surprised.
Don't see anyone drink Kaiser.
You know English, brother. By the time you take out something like the outside.
Because I'm inside, it's fun.
Well, I don't mind reading stuff like that. Especially comparing it to like in the US, it's very much harder to play.
So there's something.
You're saying.
Right.
You know, it's summertime, but you're also.
Usual.
Yeah.
Don't it?
So.
Yeah. Gathered of people. I came home and my fever started to
So what?
go over.
Did you go for that?
So you can't be still as a pride gala.
Sometimes I see my
Invited next time.
Yes.
Oh, I should.
Yeah, be the love. Fever.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was really, do you know what was really nice is that
So I come in. You're not well in that video.
Absolutely. I'm not, love to be in the panel.
Just.
Different actually. Yeah. So it's just like.
That's fine. You see.
Yeah.
But that's again. Oh.
I do.
I'm not excellent. Sorry.
Take your time.
I describe it.
Perfect. Wow.
Your shirt is big now.
Yeah.
Like the.
Centralizers against one thing.
So she's gonna wait. We spoke my story.
Franchement, si j'avais pas mal. J'avais pas mal.
If you're in one sector, you really might not be.
Down storytelling.
C'est sûr, elle donne
But no, it was her back. And I'm going to be friends. He's next to me.
I want some pictures for this.
Right, let's engage against media on the phone here. Okay, fine. I'll show you in a minute. I'll be back.
That was actually regions. I think it's something.
Yeah. I like how you said I came out of the.
Well, that's what they say, isn't it?
It's out of the closet, cupboard.
Yeah, that's true. It's cupboard.
No, not the cupboard. Like cupboard.
Just that much.
It's more womanly.
Sure thing. That's when you all have among each other that you guys support. Yeah. And it was just actually it's yeah.
I think the pool's closed though.
Saying. There is outcomes.
Right, yeah, 180 could be a good show. So that's where the.
So I was representative for Nalga and the. Yeah.
They also have a. Space.
He was going white.
Yeah,
That's video.
White people.
Right, because that's what.
I do like the idea of having video. Especially young people.
And then we formed the Black Lesbians Engage Against Media Homophobia. TV, radio, records. That's at the first part of March. So is this? That's a kitchen in my park, which was illegal.
I was thinking it didn't go.
Yeah. Pink triangle, which is what gay men were supposed to wear, and then we made them into badges. This was murderous to get this one. This pink triangle is coming out. And just having that was a big deal.
I know.
And then this one was about including Netherlands because they've been considered as trying to be heterosexual. Now go to the mobiles.
Went through in Dean Street.
And it wasn't until years later I discovered that.
Three colours.
Concentration camps.
Palestine.
I thought it was a race thing. Yeah. So we had these, I'm hoping they're still around actually in storage. So we had it doesn't have all the other ones. We had black and brown and yellow and red and combinations of these. So this is me and my partner at the Synoptic.
Yes. So I don't know if she's
outing.
When I get.
Okay.
That's no in the care home.
Yeah, Sunday's fine though.
Where the great stuff out in the.
Yeah, just in case someone spells.
Where the hell that was?
I'm just out my neck.
Oh, and this. I kept this as a memory because it face to face it looks okay. They were guaranteeing me responsibility as first. Here it is. I phoned them up to say.
You on the 10th?
Yeah,
Just you on the
3 weeks. So at 1 minute to 10 in the morning, they send me this thing. Dear Theodore, twice his first name term, should be Mr.
You've been in previous years.
Somebody pointed that out to me later.
Your place does look.
Our telephone conversation, I can confirm that the treatment of health needs will be carried out by John Glenn at Albany Lodge this afternoon at 2 p.m. This will be carried out by our nurse assessor. Two things. It should be carried out. So, and they're telling me at 2 p.m. No invitation.
Just see a chill mood. Just
Normally they have to have. Is he allergic to anything? What is his medical experience or not? I got there anyway. They wouldn't let me in.
It's not done. Such a good eye.
We should be sorry for you. It's only because he heard me shouting that they let me into the room.
Yeah.
Right. So at the time of the stick, when I was 69,
It's a one-shot.
he's obviously I'm not mixed race.
So.
Consensus.
So, I mean, they lost his body.
yes.
Yes, yeah, that, give you my number.
Yeah.
In London,
London.
nobody. Yeah, and it's something so weird. A lot of my friends, like, you're trying to
7.3.
Welcome back, everybody. I hope
Nine five.
in something. And you're ready for some two
Give you my address as well.
community discussion.
Association was run by.
We're just about to start. Hello, welcome back to everybody online. Thank you for sticking with us and joining us again. Yeah, our first part of this session was really insightful. And to begin this part, I wanted to share a little bit about the work that UK Black Pride has been doing for the last couple of years in terms of the certain projects that we started. So back in 2021, UK Black Pride started the Community Action Fund, but this was sparked through needing to actually create a research and to do a survey to actually find the needs of our community. So after the pandemic, we kept talking about mental health. We kept talking about how, trans people and queer people of color were more likely to be homeless. We spoke about discrimination in the workplace, but a lot of this data, our community didn't have actual facts that they could share for funding bids and for different things that they needed to gather resources. So the UK kind of stats or the UK survey doesn't actually account for being Black people within the UK. So doing this for us was important so that we could later on pass it on to the community. We had over 2,500 participants that took place. And then after that, we realized, well, we needed to do something about all of this information that we found. There's a 52-page report that you can find on our website. This is free. You can access it at any time. And I urge you to have a look if you ever want to write a funding bid, or if somebody says, no, mental health doesn't affect queer Black people of color, you can actually quantify it. You can tell them, hey, this is the survey we did, and this is what we found. And through that survey, we started a whole project of kind of spaces, places, and visibility, looking at things that our community needs, such as well-being and belonging. So there was a lot of money that was put into not just UK Black Pride doing this, but actually working for our community to get that. So this was part of a kind of triad relationship with Mixed Professional Makeup with Stonewall and UK Black Pride. So through that, we've been funding other community groups, not just in London, but across the UK. So there's about 22 different organizations that we've worked with so far. And through that, about over 16,000 people have been supported through this initiative. And our grants started from between 2K to up to 10K, which was given to these groups as unrestricted funding. because the hardest thing, and today we've been talking about resources, money, and how a lot of our grassroots organizations actually self-fund themselves or have no money at all. So UK Black Pride wanted this community action fund to try and support us, to try and see, hey, we're doing all this good work. We have loads of mental health charities for Black and queer people of color, but they were under-resourced. How could we let them carry on doing what they need to do? So the Community Action Fund was about that. But also, we have to mention that NYX Professional Makeup is a sponsor that a lot of our community right now are not happy with because of the connection with L'Oreal. But this is a partnership that has been going for a couple of years, and it's something also we wanted to recognize, to see what is it, how do we find different forms of funding? If there is a group or there is a I will say a company where we're no longer able to get support from, how do we do it as a community? And also recognizing how much UK Black Pride costs. For people who are not aware, I mean, UK Black Pride is free, but we have to get the money from somewhere. It costs in the region of £500,000. And that is a lot of sum of money, especially now where you have rollbacks in DEI. How are we thinking about ethical funding? What is ethical funding? Where do we draw the line? And I think this is the hardest thing that we find, not just as UK Black Pride, but a lot of organizations at the moment are struggling to find different solutions. So I think this is something as a community we have to keep on thinking about. These are some of our Community Action Fund recipients that we have funded. Some are up in Manchester, some up in Newcastle, all the way to Wales, and then a few other people here in in London, from venues to and writing groups, so many different organizations that were supported because they needed to just carry on doing the work. And it's not about anything else. Like then that work needs to be done. And how do we carry on funding that?
Just being with people. Just being with people.
Automatically. I just wanted to point out that last year, as part of the Community Action Fund, a lot of the recipients who wanted to were able to get their project further amplified by NYX Professional Makeup as part of this Proudly Pro You campaign. This was also another way to get their work to be visible away from just the community, but to give them another platform so that they could share the work and let people know what they've been doing. So this is one of the videos.
People who care about your existence is just so deeply joyful.
I am Black, queer, and proudly pro embody pleasure.
I am Arab, queer non-binary, and I am proudly pro community.
I am Black, queer, and proudly pro playful game making.
And we're proudly pro
Black lesbian warriors.
And we are proudly pro
localizing queerness.
I am proudly pro caring spaces.
We are
proudly pro our chosen family.
I very much felt isolated. I couldn't find people like me.
We need to be able to see representation so that we are able to see ourselves and see that that's a possibility for us as well. But there is so little specifically for queer people of color.
UK Black Pride Community Action Fund, funded by NYX Professional Makeup, has given us resources.
Gave us the opportunity to grow and to go to a new audience.
And then just like the consistency of events, so being able to put them on more frequently.
The most impactful thing has been the workshops. The feedback I've had is that it has empowered them.
Experiencing being nurtured, experience being cared for. It's actually to see how beautiful we are.
I just look forward to more of this and more of being able to be in spaces that provide community care, whatever that looks like.
This is why we're doing it, so you can be you.
That's a few of the recipients. One of them is in the room. Actually, more than one of them, but Veronica will also be talking shortly. So how can you support? I think one of the things that we keep talking about is resources, but also resources come in different ways. Giving up your time. If you're able to volunteer on the 10th of August at UK Black Pride, minimum requirement is 4 hours. And then I wanted to also point out that if you do volunteer, we have Robert, our new volunteer manager, who you'll get to meet at the back as well. Yeah, volunteer for 4 hours. Get to see behind the scenes and meet loads of queer people on the day, and also donate. There's a donation link on the website, if you can as well. I think it's really important that as UK Black Pride, which has and will always be free, but recognizing that also it's getting harder to get funding. And I know for myself and friends within the community, we're very happy to pay a lot of money to go to Glastonbury, to go to Mighty Hoopla, to go to all these pride events, you know? No, there's so many events that we love. And UK Black Pride is another event that we love. And even though we don't ask people for money.
Beyonce tickets.
Beyonce tickets, even though we don't ask for money, I think at times we need to also recognize, just giving in different ways, whether it's through donation, I think is really, really important to recognize that that helps to build what we have today. Okay, so this was for the break before. We're gonna go into our panel. Okay. Where'd that be?
I can hear it, but I'm ignoring it because I don't know
I don't know.
whose it is.
Popular, silly number.
He's in demand.
Stalking him.
Okay, we'll turn that back on before.
Don't be on Grindr now. Bree's getting more pings than me. No.
Coming up next is our strategic community building and funding and resilience panel. There's quite a lot in here which we're not able to, of course, cover, but it's again the beginning of this conversation. Miss Kimberly isn't able to join us today because she's not feeling well. I hope on the next one she'll be able to, but I wanted to bring up Josh Rivers.
I'm Josh Rivers. I lead the communications for UK Black Pride, and I'm the creator and host of the award-winning podcast Busy Being Black, which explores the vitality and vibrancy of queer Black aliveness. I'm really honored to be in conversation today with titans of influence and intimacy in our communities. The kind of grandiose theme for today's conversation is about strategy and resilience. We've decided to distill that into storytelling. It seems to me that the stories we're telling about our communities are necessary, obviously, but particularly at a time when so much of the funding ecosystem is changing. Where is the opportunity for us to slow down and actually deepen our storytelling practices? I think we have an example of that through our Proudly Pro You campaign and the support that we were able to distribute to grassroots organizations who are working at much smaller, micro, intimate levels around the country. And in a climate where there seems to be a total refusal of scale, where people around the world are saying, what does it mean to support the local, right? The regenerative, the smaller, the more intimate. Then I think a panel discussion in community, at the community level, about how we are deepening our storytelling practices and showing up for each other could be a nice place for us to begin to talk about resilience. So if you will please join me in welcoming Seth Brown, Veronica McKenzie.
They got a flat white machine, so I'm not passing.
Fabulous. So I've introduced myself. Ted, will you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, Ted Brown. I was born in America of Jamaican parents. My mother and father divorced when I was very young. My father married an American woman, so was able to stay there. But my mother failed to do the same thing, and she was deported from the United States as a troublemaker because she had become involved in the civil rights movement there. Came to London, started to live in Deptford, experienced a considerable amount of hostility and racism. Became aware of my sexuality around the age of 13 or 14. And I stumbled upon a drawing by an artist called Tom of Finland at a bookstore, and had to hide my nether regions all the way back home. And later, when I was around 18, I was reading one of the underground magazines. These were publications by revolutionary hippies at that time. One was called Friends magazine, FRENDZ, and the other was Oz magazine by Oz Australian publishers, who later got into trouble issuing School Kids Oz and a Gay Oz. And this was in 1968. They wound up in court and almost closed the magazines down. But both those magazines actually mentioned that there were going to be meetings in central London by homosexual people fighting for our rights. And that's the way I joined the Gay Liberation Front back in 1970.
It's very clear for those who might not know here or at home the function and the role of not only TED, but the Gay Liberation Front. You all organized the UK's first ever Pride March, and I think that TED was at the forefront of that movement and that organizing. So as ever, always honored to be in your meetings.
I brought some pictures, including one I considered to be most controversial, which was from the kiss-in. Me, my partner Noel, who I met at the march in 1971, and we were together until his death in 2021. And this is Peter Tatchell, a poster that I argued with him about. Homosexuals are revolting, gay revolution. I understood what he meant, but I felt it could be misread. But the confrontational was, we told the police beforehand that we would be holding what was called a kiss-in, which was illegal at the time, because even though they had changed the law in 1967, so lesbianism has never been considered illegal in British history, although they tried to encourage Queen Victoria to make it illegal. But she said basically two things. One, women aren't like that. They don't go into those kind of things. And secondly, basically, if there's no penis present, it doesn't count as sex. If she had 12 kids or something with her partner who she loved very much. But it was still illegal for gay men to have sex in public And the law that changed made it illegal for gay men under the age of 21. The age of consent for heterosexuals was 16, but if you were a gay male, you had to wait a further 5 years. And not only that, in private was very strict. People got arrested for having sex with their partners in blocks of flats because that wasn't considered private enough. You had to be in a building that was separate, fully detached, had its front door locked. And in fact, in some cases, you had to have locks on the bedroom door. It didn't count. And people got sentences of up to 4 years for having sex with their partners. So we said we're going to have this kissing in Hyde Park. Right. And at the time, I was one of the few,
Can I take?
no, the only Black person.
Sorry to interrupt. When you're done with the pictures, can I take them up to the camera?
Yeah.
So that people.
Okay. Sure, stand up. Okay.
Yeah. People.
Would you like to show us?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't.
Right, because this could still be considered behavior likely to disrupt the public. And we went ahead then. And apart from the whole issue of kissing, an early trans activist, in those days we referred to trans people as transvestites, meaning basically that they were men who wore women's clothes rather than women who were born in male bodies, which is the factor. I remember 1 or 2 people actually giggling and saying, I kissed a Black man.
Nothing's changed.
Yeah. Anyway, that's about it for now.
Yeah, again, always honoured to be with Ted. So I started as a writer. I was born in London, and I got into queer history and archiving probably around 2013. I spent some time abroad in the States, kind of navigating the film industry, and I'd come back and I'd face the same racism, the same gatekeeping and all the rest of it. And I just thought, I don't really want to wait for anyone to give me permission to tell the stories that I want to tell. And so I started interviewing people and just documenting queer history. So I think it started from 2012, 2013. And that work has kind of led to me doing more kind of archival work, more events. I was on a big project with Having Gay Vanguard, where we collected over 40 oral histories of Black queer community, which is online, and images. Very happy that I actually got one of the iconic banners from the Having Gay Pride marches that somebody was just about to throw out. It's been in his attic for 32 years. So I managed to jump in the car and go and get that. How I got involved with UK Black Pride is about 2.5 years. I realized that a lot of the elder that I kind of like looked up to, and the people that I knew when I first came out, were not going out anymore, were not socializing, and they, same thing, they had nowhere to go. And so, I just thought, this is, I think I went to Urban World or something. I was the oldest person there. I was just like, oh my God. But still, we needed space for, the older queer community, specifically Black lesbians. And so that's why I kind of set up Black Lesbian Warriors as an event organization, really focusing on older Black lesbians and people that identify as lesbians. So yeah, that's it.
Hey, I'm Drew Dimitri. I come from a fashion and art background. I grew up in Copenhagen. Let's start there. Copenhagen, Denmark, left there at the age of 19. It was very homophobic and racist, weirdly enough. So yeah, as soon as I was allowed to leave the house, I left and went. My dad gave me two options. You either get married or go to university. We did not get married. So I went to university. Yeah, I worked in fashion and art for 15 years. Realized again that industry was very homophobic and racist. So I decided to start a platform called NAFS. NAFS in Arabic can be read in two ways. It's either nafs or nafas. Nafs means the self. Nafas means the breath. And I thought it was a very fitting thing for the queer Swana Arab diaspora. It was at a point in time where none of us were breathing, and we needed a space to breathe together collectively. NAF started off as an art platform, just showcasing people's creativity. It quickly expanded to club nights. Now we're doing workshops. We had a very interesting workshop the other night about language and queerness. One fact, actually, I'm going to bring this up real quick. Apparently, there was a neuroscientist in the audience, and they said that the Arabic language, because of how deep it is, it resonates on a different molecular level than the English language. Our terminology, our use of words. So I guess this is why we're always so passionate, and we feel very immensely, because we relate language to our bodies very, very much. Kind of, Lady Phyll, Josh, and Aisha have always been very supportive of what I do. I will have to say, this as a person that supports the Queer Swana collective. We really need to stop working with some of your sponsors, because they are honestly killing our brothers and sisters. They're killing them. So you really have to look into what other options we have here. And I'm happy to sit down collectively and figure out what solutions we have. But please drop some of these sponsors. Yeah, and that's what I do.
Yeah, and then we're done, guys.
Thank you. Want the wine?
Yeah. I've been thinking a lot about the phrase relational intimacy. And it's coming up a lot because of the, wave arm around, like the global condition, right? The human condition. And I think this is perhaps a great segue from, or connection to this idea of sponsorship and scale, right? Everything can't always be bigger, right? How do we go deeper? And I don't necessarily have a question, but I want to understand how relational intimacy informed your work, Ted. Like how this idea for more intimacy fueled the actions that you were able to take in 1971.
How is relational intimacy defined by you, Josh? Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, I was going to ask the same question actually.
Fabulous.
Let's begin with you.
Great.
That's flipped.
Yeah. So I've been thinking about relational intimacy because I have a desire to connect with people intimately, emotionally. I want to be very close to other people. And I have found it fulfilling and enlivening to create and be part of spaces where people get to connect with each other outside of these racism and discrimination. So much of the public conversation about what it means to be Black and queer or brown and queer in the world revolves around hurt and trauma, as if that is the extent of our lived experience. And I think a lot about Kevin Kwashi, who wrote The Sovereignty of Quiet. And in it, he says that our understanding of Blackness in the West is very anti-Black. It is always supposed to tell us something about democracy, about freedom. And that in that we lose what Kevin Kwashi calls the wild and voluptuous interior world. And so when I think about relational intimacy, I'm thinking about that impulse, that very human desire to pull other people closer to us. And that to me opens up a really big world, right? What does safety mean for you? how do you fight for what matters? How do we define our values together? How do we define the boundaries of this dance we're doing? So when I think about relational intimacy, I think about that the desire for the human animal to become closer to others.
Well, I can only give two examples if I think I understand the point that you're making. They're to do with my relationship with my partner, Noel, because he, as it's been pointed out earlier on, the Gay Liberation Front was not particularly welcoming to Black people in general. I was one of the first Black people in the Gay Liberation Front. I helped to found it, in fact. And as far as I can remember, I was the only person in it for about 2.5 years at least. I have photographs here of us marching along Oxford Street. I'm very happy to show them to people afterwards if you'd like to have a look, because I think there's some history here that we can easily forget, such as things like the ground essence of people learning how to communicate with themselves, right? One was the pink triangle at the Gay Liberation Front meetings. We used the pink triangle. This was a symbol that gay men were forced to wear in the Nazi concentration camps. And it wasn't until years later that I discovered, when I made some mobiles of black triangles, which I thought was a racial designation, that lesbians in concentration camps were forced to wear a black triangle. Not quite clear about what happened there. But the thing about that is, we learn to communicate with ourselves because the large pink triangle was for the main Gay Liberation Front. The smaller gay triangle, pink triangle, was for the youth group, which was legally separate from the main part. And we tried to ensure that people could communicate very easily by ensuring that the people who were shy and couldn't speak publicly could put notes in these vases, and they would be read out. So you were sure that if you had a question, you didn't have to stand up and say it yourself. Now, the intimacy partly comes from my relationship with Noel, because in the 50 years that we were together, we experienced a combination of intimacy between ourselves across racial barriers and class barriers, because Noel's family was quite upper class. Both his parents were doctors. He actually was virtually abandoned by his family, partly for being gay, but mostly for being with a Black man. And over the years, we experienced a unique combination of homophobia and racism, because even at hospitals, when Noel became ill and was in hospital, it became clear, in the way that most of us have experienced, that tone of voice, that facial expression that tells you that this person is being racial towards you. They're not just treating you as a customer or a client. They've got a thing about your being Black and them being white. That one was that both Black and white people sometimes couldn't imagine that a Black and a white man could actually have a meaningful relationship. And that gave us a different perspective about each other and about our communities, right? And also, later on, when you might have heard about this, the footballer the first footballer in England to be worth £1 million, very successful, Justin Fashanu, came out as gay, right? And unfortunately, the Voice newspaper, which was the prime black newspaper in the country, that you thought would have backed him simply on the basis that he had overcome a massive amount of prejudice and hostility in order to become Britain's most premier footballer, really tore into him. And here's me at the NALGO, National Association of Local Government Officers, protesting and holding up a copy of the Voice newspaper, which is quoting Justin's brother, John Fashanu, saying, "My gay brother is an outcast." And within the newspaper, it is implied that Justin has been corrupted by white people because black people can't naturally be lesbian or gay. Right? And for the first time, the Voice newspaper was competing with the Sun newspaper. I haven't brought it myself, but I still have the cartoon that the Sun newspaper did at the same time as this headline, in which they had the changing pools where the footballers swim and clean up after finishing, showing the entire white team at one end of the football of the pool, and Justin at the other side, one end of the pool, looking very digested, and the white team saying, "What makes you think that we've been reading the Sun newspaper, Justin?" So that enabled them to be both racist, because they couldn't have done a picture like that simply on the basis of him being black, but they managed to get it in this, because now that he's gay, obviously the team have to keep their eyes at the back. So it gave us a different perspective about both ourselves. For example, me asking the Voice, "Are you black? Are you supporting other black people? Or are you more about being homophobic or heterosexual?" And about me and my partner, and seeing the way people reacted to us, and trying to understand the barriers of race and class that we were overcoming. I think we were overcoming because we lasted together for 50 years, and hoping that things would get better.
Yes.
Now, I don't want to take up too much time, but
I like this is great because it's even at the beginning as now. We see the fault lines, right? We see the extent of this ostensible movement for love and liberation and inclusion. Within these movements, there are still rules one abides by about how you can identify and with whom you can connect. And I think that energy that inaugurated the movement was about abolishing those fault lines, about saying these rules are ridiculous, right? They're limiting and restrictive. Veronica, what are you learning about your desire? Like, what do you learn through your desire to connect and create space? What are you learning about what it takes to create space for people who may feel left behind or forgotten?
I think I'd have to kind of go back to the beginning in terms of my experience. When I came out, I think I was about 19, 20. It was extremely quiet, extremely shy. And I ended up going to South London Women's Centre and being surrounded by all of these really confident black lesbians who were playing pool and shouting and, basically humiliating you if you couldn't play pool. That was the thing back then. Till now. You had to play pool, you had to drink beer, do you know what I mean? And all of these things. And I'd be very watchful because I was like, oh my God, I thought coming out and meeting other people in the queer community was going to be liberating, but it came with a lot of other, like you said, rules. It came with a lot of judgment. I used to be in fashion, so I'd turn up with like my, a bow and my nail polish and, you know, all of this stuff. And they were like, are you sure you're a lesbian? Yeah, and I was refused entry into clubs because they said, oh, we don't believe you're a lesbian. And I was like, but I am. And they're like, well, look at you. And I'm like, but I am. So there were a lot of codes and a lot of ways of behavior that we had to kind of stick to in the 80s. And I look back on it, I think we kind of policed ourselves quite a lot because of the external struggles that we faced. On the upside, that is external pressure really meant that we had to find community. Do you know what I mean? We had to find community. We had to honor community, and we had to contribute to it. So it really wasn't a case of there was no option, you know. So it was kind of like if there was an event happening, it would be someone's responsibility, everyone's responsibility to tell one or two other people. Do you know what I mean? You'd literally phone them up and say, look, there's a party on Saturday. Just wanted to make sure you knew about it, because there was no internet. There was none of, you know what I mean? There were notice boards that said that there were meetings. You know, do you know what I mean? So it's like very tangible ways that you had to connect with people. And it wasn't this kind of barrier, or I don't know you, or we're not friends. It's like, I know you're part of the community. And so I'm doing my part for the community to make sure that you don't miss anything, to make sure that you show up, and to show that we are thinking about everyone. So by that, you know, like kind of being involved in that environment, I got used to, you know, going to spaces and it'd be like, oh, I haven't seen, you know, have you seen Angela? I haven't seen Angela for 3 or 4 weeks. Who's a friend of Angela? You know what I mean? Where is she? Go and check on her. Oh, she's gone on holiday. You know what I mean? So it's this kind of informal way of connecting and keeping an eye on who was there and who wasn't there and what they were doing. A lot of it was tangible. Somebody was going to lose their house. Show up with money, with things, with move people. You can drive. I hear you got a van. Come, let's go. Do you know what I mean? It was all this kind of thing. So, in terms of what was mine and what is the community, it wasn't this separation. It was like it went round. If somebody had an office job and they had a photocopier, everyone knew. Photocopier. You know what I mean? So, you know, you've got access to the work. So all of this information and all of these kind of resources. You know, it was used, it was shared, it was kind of like, you know, you've got all of this which is part of the community. And so it enabled a lot of people to be very active, to start groups, to start kind of circles and everything else. So then what happened is over time, as a lot of people got older, they started moving away from the clubbing scene. They started moving away from, you know, I call it the 90s where, you know, I call it the political wasteland. Because in terms of, you know, queer activism in the 90s, it was just all heteronormative stuff, you know, get a mortgage, get a house, you know, and all of that kind of stuff. So it wasn't really same. So one of the things I noticed was that I was losing connection to people. You know, like you can't be, oh yeah, there was so-and-so and there was so-and-so and there was, and the connection started to fracture as people got older, as they moved away, as they got into relationships, and you know, so it was the sense of what we had. And that was quite sad, because it was almost like there wasn't. We knew some of the people were still out there, but everyone was now kind of like siloed and fragmented and everything else. And it was at an event when I was talking to a few people, and we were like, we missed that connection. We missed that sense of belonging. We missed that just rocking up. You know, you don't even have to, you know, ring anybody to say, are you going on Friday? You know, when you turn up, there's going to be people that you know. It was that kind of like knowing there's people you know, no matter if you can get there, somebody will give you a lift home, or somebody will drop you home, or somebody. So there was a sense of, and we wanted real community, not just talk. It was an action. Do you know what I mean? We would never leave somebody standing outside a club and not know how they're getting home. There was a whole divide between North and South London, but that's still a thing. It's like if you got, all right, you need to talk to them lot.
Bring your passport.
Yeah, exactly. There's still all of that. you know, so, you know, we discovered that for all of the struggles that we went through and all of the external pressures and all of the hate and the Thatcherism and everything else, what we got was a sense of community that helped us through it. And what was happening now is that people seemingly had better external circumstances, didn't have the community. You know what I mean? Didn't have that. You know, so we wanted to recreate that sense of intimacy, like you're talking about. Like, I know what's happening in your life.
Yeah.
I know what's happening in your life. And you can show up and you can just be yourself. I'm not going to ask you, you don't have to come with anything. You know what I mean? You don't have to
Bring ID.
bring ID or anything. Show up, knowing that you're with your community and knowing that a lot of us have been where you've been, or we know someone who's been where you've been, and we, you know, we're just there. And the presence of sitting in a room at our first event, we had over 100 Black lesbians turn up, and the majority of them were over 40. And we had the whole day of events planned that you could do this and you could do that, and really halfway through it was like, we just need to talk. We just want the space. We just want to connect. We just want to sit in each other's company and just soak that up. And I think that's kind of what I'm kind of cultivating, this thing of, you don't have to come with anything. It's good enough for you just to be yourself in this space. If you try and have beautiful spaces, that's just my thing. You can just be yourself. You can just relax. You can just connect. You can just take what you want. You can sit in the corner and be quiet if you want. Just be in the space. Some people want that, you know, just to feel it. And I think in that way, the intimacy, that part of you that needs to be fed by knowing that you're not on your own. And it's a part of you that you kind of forget when you kind of measure things. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of, it's something that you don't measure, but when you feel it again, you realize you've been missing it.
It's this, what's going on for me is I had this experience back in 2017 where I was 2 years into my political awakening, had this absolute fire in my belly, you know, wanted to burn everything down. And I instead found my energy being channeled into a white institution to create change. I had this distinct sense that I was turning away from my community as if the community was okay, you know, as if our communities can afford those of us with that type of energy to not be focused and turned inward. And this is coming up for me now as you say this, right? That the political wasteland of the 90s was also a time when the kind of white gays were leading this charge for assimilation and inclusion, right? Yeah. And so now gayness is becoming this thing that people want to participate in, whether or not they're gay.
Yeah.
And whereas before there was this kind of insularity because people did not want to associate with that, right? And that's not to romanticize or fetishize the kind of harm or the violence that situation was, but to kind of just to characterize that cultural shift and the abandonment that happens when we turn ourselves almost outwards instead of inwards. Yeah. And it almost feels like we're at that similar moment again, right? Where we've actually kind of exposed ourselves as much as we can to the out. And in the process, there's kind of all of this shit happening behind the scenes that really needs addressing and that really needs support.
Absolutely.
NAFS comes up now, right? Yeah. And this kind of we're in the pandemic, right? We're literally starving for space. Yeah. Particularly in a place like London, where the closure of LGBTQ venues has been some of the starkest of Europe. Talk to us about this, what you're learning about sustaining these types of intimate in-person spaces in a kind of very digital first, physical last world.
I mean, we are kind of steering away from the digital world, because of our political stance. We're getting shadow banned left, right, and center. So our stuff doesn't ever hit, you know, more than like 20 views these days. Yeah. Even though our community is like, there's, you know, when I host events, there's at least 5,000 people that show up. That's all through word of mouth. That's all through just kind of making sure that the right people know. My whole community has my number. So it goes beyond just, oh, we're going to do this. I want to know exactly what you're going through, especially in the current political landscape, Palestine, Iran, You know, Egypt, I mean, it's all a complete shit show. We also have families there. I mean, I'm doing a thing tonight. One of the DJs is Iranian. She can't leave bed right now. She's like, I can't even contact my family. That stress, that hurt, it just doesn't affect that one person. It affects the whole community. So we have to show up for each other. We do. You know, I'm sending her food. I'm like, have you been fed? Have you done, you know, and I've done that for a lot of everybody in our community, which I love to do because I want to make sure that everybody's okay. And that to me is a form of intimacy. It's a huge form of intimacy. I can't sit here and talk about community if I'm not helping them individually. You know, we do these events to bring them together. It's, again, I've said, awful, awful time. But we also kind of cater to different needs. The queer era is not monolithic. We all have different tastes. We all have different religious beliefs. So a club night won't suit everyone. A few years ago, or last year actually, when there was an increase in Islamophobia, people were getting noticed my community needed some form of protection. So I created self-defense classes for them. Not that I encourage them to like go out and beat people up, even though go for it if needs be. But I just want them to know that they can protect themselves. You know, it's one thing just offering one thing, but it's more important when you offer as much as you can, you know, and also hearing what they need, understanding what they need. Yeah. Well, you're gonna make me cry.
There is a tremendous amount of grief in me. And I'm curious about how we balance that, right? How we balance this need to protect ourselves and our communities, to be formidable against the outsiders, right?
Yeah.
Also still opening ourselves up for allyship, for support. Ted, how might you begin to answer that?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with learning to see past the labels. Because at the moment, the labels are used to separate us. If you watch, for example, what's happening with Trump in America, and I think we as a queer community really do need to watch what's happening there, because there's always an overspill from America to what happens in Britain. He's recently, for example, just closed down the suicide and the mental health institutions for people in the States. He's also removed discriminatory protection, saying that that doesn't apply to gay people. And so what's happening, he says, that's black, you don't like it, I don't like it. That's gay or lesbian or foreign immigrants or something, instead of looking at people as whole human beings, right? And that's what we want in our own relationships. Because when you first meet somebody, perhaps you start with some kind of label you recognize. After a time, and certainly when you begin to love them, you see past the label. You see a whole person, right? Because none of us are just simply lesbian or gay or bi or trans or American or British or whatever. These are all parts of us. And the closer we get to loving ourselves and to loving each other is when we start to try and welcome the different parts of a person, right? And I think that's what initially a lot of the movements were about. The civil rights movement, for example, although it was publicized by the white press in America as being threatening Black people trying to take over, you know, Ku Klux Klan running up and down, It was the Black community meeting together and saying, we in the North are the same as you in the South. We're sharing the same feelings. What we want is love and friends and family. And that's what you want as well. And once the rest of society began to recognize that, some of the racial barriers, and I say racial barriers as a label, were beginning to wall down. And what's happening now is that both in Britain and America, the labels are becoming more and more prominent. And what we need to do collectively is to, for example, about the community, we mentioned it earlier about the trans community, for example. J.K. Rowling and those women that were celebrating after the statement by the Supreme Court were saying they are not biologically women. They should not be treated as full human beings. What we want to do is say they are people, we are people, we should work together. It's a really important thing that applies to every single minority, disenfranchised group, to recognize that you are who you are. You're not the label that the haters are trying to put on you, and share that with other people and share your humanity.
Yeah, Ruby Sales, the civil rights elder, said that this was kind of a fundamental understanding that emerged from the civil rights movement, and that was around what Dr. Martin Luther King was calling us towards. She said he wasn't calling us to a kind of literal assimilation. He was calling us to a Pentecost moment. She said to an understanding of the cosmic we, of this kind of cosmic oneness that we are, and that people got lost in this kind of integrationist, assimilationist narrative, and that kind of became the goal, was integration outwards instead of through, right? It's connected.
But it's also very much about divide and conquer. They want us to separate. They want us to look at each other differently. They want us to be that group, that group, that group, so they can control it easier, you know?
I mean, I would say that, divide and rule. Absolutely key that as members of the queer community, we have an understanding of the political landscape. Do you know what I mean? We have an understanding of how capitalism works, the function of capitalism, how capitalism evolves and pits us against each other. And a lot of the time, what I see are people in the queer community or queer communities expending their energy in areas that are not going to serve us. Do you know what I mean? We have energy, we have a finite amount of energy, you may say. Some things are just not our, do you know what I mean? Just like let them, if they're doing that, okay, good. You do you, yeah, because we need to focus on what benefits the queer community and how we support our community, our growth, our development, our infrastructure.
For sure.
And I see a lot of energy being expended on things that, and it's really difficult because I talk to some of my friends. The function of capitalism is to go over there and to show you like something, to get your emotions up and to get your energy and to get you riled. So many people, you know what I mean? But we have to train our minds, do you know what I mean? And train ourselves in conversations.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? To detach and that we can see what you're doing now. We see, I mean, even before Trump came in, I was like, this is going to happen, this, and this, and this. Oh, it would never happen. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have some level of detachment and realize that you've got to work in your own interests and your interests of your community, the queer community. Everything's got to be aligned with that. If you're engaging in one behavior that damages the queer community, and then you're trying to do something for the community here, it's not aligned. So it's kind of like we all need to line up, do you know what I mean? And kind of know politically emotionally and financially, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where we stand. And I think we don't see enough cohesive behavior from the queer community a lot of the time. Do you know what I mean? 'Cause it's like, I'm
Absolutely.
queer here, but
Yeah.
I'm going to do all of this.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Which undermines the community.
Yeah.
So just coming back to what you were saying about support,
Mm-hmm.
we need to be supporting organisations like yours. Do you know what I mean? But we don't need to be told. We
No.
automatically see this is happening in the world. These communities are in extra heat at the moment.
Yeah.
We should be, do you know what I mean? And I feel like, oh, it didn't even, that's what we should be doing.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have to ask. We should be aware.
It's you driving past and seeing someone standing outside the club.
Yeah.
And then you go,
They need us. Yeah.
Question.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
please.
So I'm Arabic as well. I run Swana Queers and Swana Les. I don't think
Yeah. No, I've heard about you.
I've heard
from
about
the film. Yes.
that one.
Inshallah.
Yeah, back in.
I did.
I just want to build on what Veronica is saying and make it really clear. I was talking in my presentation about activism fatigue, and at the moment, as someone with an intersectional identity, I feel like I'm being pulled in all of the directions.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. Tomorrow, I've been invited to 3 different protests on the same day in London. There's Palestine protest, which I will be with my Swana Queer group. Then the Dykes are going to the Dyke March. And then somebody else has invited me to go and protest outside the Hungarian embassy for their rights. And then there's the protest against disabled people because PIPs are being cut. There's protest for women's rights. I mean, they've just voted to decriminalize abortion, but and when I look at what's going on right now, I agree with you, Veronica, but I think we need to rise above the panic that we are experiencing because we feel attacked on all directions. It's like they're going after the blacks. In America, ICE is going after the Hispanics. They're going after the trans and non-binary people. They're going after the women. Do you know what I mean? And then within our own community, there is some division as well. So how do we rise above the panic and come together when everyone feels like they're fighting a different fights?
I would just quickly say that you try and take the emotion out of it. It's very difficult. It's how capitalism works. Capitalism is not emotional. Capitalism is the bottom line. If we do this, if we do that, we make more money.
Yeah.
These are not people. These are just, do you know what I mean? And and people get triggered and then they react. And so I do believe that one of the things is once you start kind of if you understand that this is a system, it's a system where we're being attacked now. If it's not us, in a year's time, it's going to, do you know what I mean? It's a system.
Yeah.
So once you kind of see that systemic construct, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you realize what you're aligned with, you do what you can, do you know what I mean?
With what you have.
What you have, but you're getting emotionally triggered and angry and using all of that because that is going to.
Yeah, but that's really hard when your people are being killed.
Yes,
Actually, when there's a side.
But then you align yourself with that.
Yeah.
So on the Saturday, what am I doing? I'm not doing 4:15. I'm doing that.
And if I may, it's not, I don't know that we get to do this work without the emotion. The example that comes up for me is last August, I felt like I was actually losing my mind with the American election. And I was trying to get people to see that a vote for Kamala Harris is a vote for Trump. Like they're the same thing.
Yeah.
And I thought I was being very sensible in my outrage. Like, guys, please, this is the biggest cop in America. Like, open your eyes. And the feedback I was getting from people I trusted and believed in was horrifying to me. And I went, oh shit, the ancestors don't even want me here. Like, this is not my beat.
Right.
This is not what I'm supposed to be doing. Because usually when I speak, people respond to me very beautifully. So I'm obviously not doing something right in my lane.
Yeah.
And so I was like, what am I supposed to be doing in this moment? How do I help? And immediately I was like, oh, I actually had a conversation with someone on my podcast about the power of communication as a form of love. I'm already doing the work I'm supposed to be doing, right? And so I think there's also a part of us that thinks we have to spread ourselves thin, that we have to fight 300 different battles at once, when actually we can't, right? And that is the distraction I think that you're pointing to, is that people always want to pull us away from the work that is actually genuinely transformative
True.
that we can do.
I've got a question for Ted, and then that's the last one.
You wanna go,
Yeah.
and then we go to Ade
Thank
and
you.
Saba?
Ted, so I'm 57, I've been through Section 28, I'm not as experienced as you, but I really feel like we're going back in time right now. You know, I was out protesting when Section 28 was repealed. I was in education. I celebrated the very first LGBT History Month in an FE college, and now I feel like, oh my God, we're going back in time. And we're going back in time in a more regressive way, because back in those days, we didn't have all the social media, we didn't have the mobile phone, we didn't have the toxicity that, watching things happening live on our Instagram or TikTok or whatever. So I'm coming to you for wisdom, really, because, I love you and I respect you immensely. What advice would you give activists today to keep going?
Well, actually, I think one of the things we should remember is that things have been worse. In the
Thanks, Ted.
None of us are in a concentration camp. None of us have grown up in apartheid or segregation.
But people are today that we're related to.
Yeah, well, yeah, not immediately, but I mean, what I'm saying is that these things happen in waves, right? And there is a slow progression, because now even racists have to mollify their racism, because it's actually been agreed subliminally that humans should be treated a certain way. There's a human rights code that didn't exist 200 years ago.
I see what you mean.
Yeah. So it's very slow, but it is actually happening. People like Netanyahu are often on the back foot. If you actually listen to what they're actually saying, they are fighting against criticism that is actually coming at them, that might not have come at them 50 years ago. They might have been able to do what they're doing totally free. Yeah, right. I mean, I think, when was it 1928 that America got the vote for women, right? When was it in Britain? I can't remember. Was it 1907 or something? Yeah, I can't remember. But the way to look at it is that up until then, women had not had the vote anywhere for 2,000 years. So there's now an assumption that people should be treated equally. And there are people who are fighting to try and oppress that. But we are better off generally now than we were 200 years ago. We're not in Charles Dickens' time, when you could have 12-year-old kids climbing up a chimney to clean it.
Yeah.
Some Arab nations were way better off 200 years ago.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's
It's a pre-colonial country.
pre-colonial, yeah. So, yeah,
Yeah, I have got a question, but someone else did.
Yeah, I had two questions.
Oh.
My first one was about I guess maybe talking about any of your experiences around bridge building, because I hear you you talk about having all these protests happening on the same day, and I find in this country bureaucracy is a tool of distraction. And so my mind goes, why are all those people protesting separately in the first place, as if I know multiple people whose identities lie in all of those places. And so why is the protesting happening separately either? My second question is around anti-Blackness and for folks who are running organizations where they are like racialized or within the context of British political Blackness. If you are, how you feel about anti-Blackness within your organizing spaces, and you place that as a priority in when you're creating your space, because I think in a white supremacist context, if you are not Black or not being read as Black but doing work under the banner of political Blackness, are you pushing back against anti-Blackness in that space? And if not, how are you dealing with when that comes up? Because I think with UK Black Pride, I'm somebody who was African and then came to the UK, and then I was born here, but I was raised in Nigeria, and then came to UK and was like, oh, I'm Black, being African. And then also moved through the States and been like, oh, I'm Black here in a different way. And so I think people are having very valid experiences of coming to UK Black Pride and looking around and being like, oh, I'm Black, but not, when they say Black here, Black means different things. Was in a way utilizing experiences I'm having to make political progress, but then I don't find I'm being brought forward within that progress. So I'm curious about how anti-Blackness is being engaged with within the context of this political Blackness thing that happens in Britain. But yeah, those are my two contributions.
From the Swana community, there is a lot of anti-Blackness. It is racist, unfortunately, right? Which is really insane to me, because I've got my mom's side of the family, they're Black, my dad's side's quite white, and I even see it in their interaction. It's gross. It's gross. What I do when I kind of curate a night, obviously, like there's not that many Black countries within the Swana region, so I will focus on Sudan predominantly and see if there's any queer Sudanese people who would like to DJ, perform, get involved in any capacity. Because I need to remind our community that they are part of our community, just because you were brought up in a way that kind of isolated the Black community within the region, which I completely disagree with. I need to remind you that we're all here in this together, and they're all part of the community. And then as for the marches, I've said this to Aisha a lot. I think we all need to collectively get together and figure shit out. Like, it's just that simple. Like, we need to be like, okay, how many numbers do we need to go to the Hungarian embassy? How many numbers do we need to go to the Dyke march? How many numbers do we need at the Palestinian march? How can we divide all that and make it look like it's packed on all grounds? Who's gonna go there? Who's gonna take care of that one? Who's gonna take care of that one? It's all about being together and collective in this, right? We are fighting the same beast. And we need to remember that it's the same beast we're fighting. We just need to do that together. And that's my opinion.
Yeah, that bit. Because a lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't know who they're fighting.
No, exactly.
It's just incredible. Could you go like, okay, you're really angry. Who are you angry?
Yeah, but why?
Why?
Like,
And so sometimes there's a lack of understanding.
Yeah.
About who. You're marching. What do you want?
Yeah. What are we gonna do? What's the
I mean? It's
goal
kind
here?
of like, yes, there's in the 80s, I think people had a very clear idea of what they were marching for. We're marching for equal rights. We want this law to be changed. And all the rest of it. A lot of today, there seems to be like you said, the lack of joined up efforts. B, a lack of understanding of who the enemy is.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because the enemy is not a person, the enemy is a system or a particular part of the system. And what do you want?
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. I mean, in terms of anti-Blackness, because when I came up, it was a political Black. So I was used to going into spaces where, it was African, Southeast Asian, Chinese, Australasian, do you know what I mean? And then we all kind of got together under the umbrella of being Black. But then what happened was, again, a function of capitalism, they started awarding grants to different ethnic groups. Do you know what I mean? So first of all, you'd get the grant as a Black organisation. Do you know what I mean? Like Sisters of Sisters of Southall Sisters. Southall Sisters, a fantastic example of a group that's been going since the 80s and have addressed their issues around anti-Blackness and Blackness within the group. Because I think it used to be Southall Black Sisters, which include Southeast Asian, Chinese, and what we call Black today women. But as the funding regime changed and they started dangling carrots over here, oh, we've got some money for Southeast Asian women only, or Southeast Asian people only, then people started to go for that and everything started disintegrating. Do you know what I mean? And then what you've got is then this hierarchical, do you know what I mean? We're giving money to these groups, you know, sometimes because, you know, they didn't have the capacity to do the grants and all the rest of it, or they didn't have the support. Do you know what I mean? Or people just kind of fractured, end up getting less money. You know, so again, it's a kind of thing of if you look at how the money works, the money has had a real impact on fracturing that solidarity that we had in the 80s and 90s. And we're still seeing that through today. People are identifying around their ethnicity and around their position. And we don't really talk about class. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And class is like one of the key indicators of what your life is going to be in this country and where you're going to end up and are you going to be looked after. But we're really encouraged not to talk about class. Do you know what I mean? Because that understanding of class can shift things.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
sharply, actually.
Very sharply. And if you look at most political leaders, especially the Black ones, when they start talking about class, that's when they get assassinated. Do you know what I mean? Because it's kind of like you're supposed to focus on the Blackness or you're supposed to focus on single issue politics. So again, it comes back to your point of this kind of joined up thinking. Do you know what I mean? But to know that anti-Blackness has been cultivated in a way that when I was growing up, and it's going to sound really weird, when I was growing up, there was racism, but I didn't feel it was anti-Black. It was a weird way, it's just racist. Do you know what I mean? It was their problem. It wasn't kind of like my problem.
Yeah.
And it's somehow shifted now that people are talking about anti-Blackness, but almost feeling like it's our, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, it's not my, do you know what I mean?
You still.
Yeah, so it's something shifted. Because when I hear people talk about anti-Blackness and stuff like that, and I just think that's a new evolution of how capitalism works now. Yeah, I mean, now we're having discussions about anti-Blackness.
Well, we're having a discussion about anti-Blackness within a space that is effectively inclusive.
Yeah.
And saying, well, actually, is it that inclusive if I'm not the only Black, if there are not Black people here? And there's kind of been a conflation of potential for harm with actual harm. And so we're actually end up having a conversation about potential and not actual. I think that's a very important thing that we should be aware of. I mean, we've been to UK Black Pride, right? We have felt what it feels like to be with Black and brown brothers and sisters, as well as white people who get it. We've felt that energy, and it has been emotional energy and convivial, and it brings us together. And I think that's something we ought to celebrate more, right? While we continue to ask questions about who has access to us as a community and how we continue to build spaces outside of UK Black Pride, right? What we're talking about is never resolved with an annual event. That's not even the appropriate way to say it. And so I think that we've got a really wonderful panel of people here and in the audience proving that these communal, intimate relational efforts that sprout up at the grassroots and sustain themselves across time are actually how we move this whole thing forward. So I think that
I know we have one more from Saba. No, go for it. Yeah, go for it.
I just wanted to make a few points. One of them was someone spoke earlier, but a very wise lady who may well be listening on the call earlier, gave me some advice a little while ago. And it was about, you mentioned it, about not spreading yourself too thin and not having to be a part of everything. And that's kind of where your ego kind of comes into it a little bit. Not necessarily ego, because I don't want to sound like I'm being whatever the word is. But you don't have to be involved in anything. It's like pick the battles, pick the things that resonate and align with you. Kind of put your energy in those places. Because like Lila was saying, activism is exhausting, it's mentally draining, and there's only so much you can put into things. So you can't do everything because you're not going to be effective. But the other thing I was going to say as well is that I'm very aware, especially recently on the back of like stuff that's been happening, the awful stuff that's happening around the trans community, that quite a few groups have sprung up that want to help the trans community. There's a lot of saviorism that's going on, and there's been quite a lot of that with like the Black community anyway. We're going to come and save you, you know, or even with like Palestine, we're going to come and save you in Iran. And I think we don't need that. And one thing I've noticed, especially within, I was part of a group, and actually that's where I came out of it because I just couldn't bear it. Nobody's talking about supporting or helping the Black trans community, and they're being completely left out of the conversation. And it's something I'm really, really aware of. So what advice would you give to those trans ally groups that are setting themselves up that keep forgetting that Black trans women exist? I thought I'd leave that. Thanks, bye.
I would say extraction. Get the resources. Do you know what I mean? Like if you can, you know, if you know a group of that could benefit from some of the resources, and this group has the resources, extract the resources. Do you know what I mean? Get them to put their resources where they say that
They're just not interested in Black trans women or listening. I mean, that's why I pulled out of the group.
That's a difficult one.
I think like that is the answer to the question. Yeah. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I'm struggling to come up with an answer other than ignore those groups.
Yeah.
Because
That's why we have UK Black Pride, you know, for places and groups where it didn't serve us or where our community aren't being supported.
and I think it's actually not just ignoring what doesn't work, but boosting what does.
Yeah.
Right? Because there are people fighting for Black trans people,
100%.
and they just don't have the visibility of other trans organizations or there's this I think across history we see this signal boosting, right? People with bigger platforms, more resources, actually stepping out of the way and handing their platform over to smaller organizations with fewer resources and saying, you take over this. And there's actually, we see perhaps less of this from a cultural perspective, but there is, I believe, part of the cultural vitality of any community is that kind of cross-pollination and collaboration. Because we're not only organizing around like as we said before, like racism, discrimination, the kind of pain points, right? We're also organizing around vitality and aliveness. And so much of that is a cultural piece, right? And that's a different funding pot and a different opportunity and different venues. And there's a whole other element, I think that I call cultural vitality, that I think is important for us to consider here. All right. Yeah, thank you all for this.
Thank you, Drew. Thank you for head. We've got minutes, and then there's some minutes to network. If you want to stay to get to connect to some of the people, please do. And also, I just wanted to say before we leave that, if you can, please check out UK Black Pride. Volunteer if you can as well.
Donate.
Yeah. Donate as well. Let me get the
Are you gonna do?
there you go. Volunteer if you can, please email us if you have any further questions or feedback. I'll be sending some feedback forms as well. Too. One of the things I want to make sure that over the next, one of the things I wanted to make sure is over the next few months that we start carrying on talking. We're not just gonna run this roundtable discussions here. We're gonna be actually going up north as well. So we're gonna be doing up in Manchester, Bristol as well as Birmingham. And the idea is also for us to start thinking about who can we collaborate with. Fighting alone is hard. It's long, and without resources, it's very, very difficult. Find other groups to collaborate with, not just in London. There's so many groups outside of London that you could connect with as well. And I think also is about realizing who is the enemy, because of so much that is going on. What's happened over the last few years is we've seen people attacking each other. People calling out, counseling each other, saying, hey, UK Black Pride, you're not doing this enough. You should be doing that. You should be doing all of these things. And I think as time goes by, these things aren't wrong. And I think it's about thinking about how stretched organizations can be and how no organization people are perfect. And here at UK Black Pride, there are certain things that we're trying to do with sponsors that come to us. There's certain sponsors that we've already dropped and have dropped already that won't be with us this year. So I'll say that if you know of other sponsors that could support UK Black Pride that can fit into this kind of form of ethical funding, please let us know. We'd like to work with you and with them as well. And also around, supporting Black trans women. As we were saying before, there's certain groups that we can see are being ignored. How can we support our Palestinian siblings? I mean, what does it mean to support? Does it mean that you have to go and protest tomorrow? Is that the way you show up? And I think it's realizing that we are allowed to show up in different ways. If you can't get up tomorrow, that is okay. If you can do things in different way, if you can support NAV space, that's another way. But you might be able to only do that once a year, but that's also okay. And I think it's important to see what you can do and when you want to do it. Because when there's so much noise, I don't know about you, but you just freeze. You end up doing nothing at all. And I think what Veronica is saying, focus is really important. We want to care for everybody and we want to be everywhere. But when we don't focus, how do you create consistency and measure your progress? It's very, very, very difficult. But I think this is only the first of, I hope, many. And anybody who wants to keep on coming, please do let us know. And Ted,
Yes.
you want to say something?
Well, I just wanted to use this as an opportunity to point out that the generation that started the Gay Liberation Front in this country, that launched all the protests and demonstrations and movements that have led us to this point, are now of the age of reaching, going into old care homes, right? And I'm going to quickly summarize some of the things that happened to my partner when he had dementia and went into a care home. He first wound up in the hospital. He had a heart problem. The dementia, Lewy body dementia, started very mildly. I was visiting him once a week. I went to visit him. He wasn't there. I thought he'd been moved to another department in the hospital. Turns out that Lambeth Council had decided to move him into a care home in Croydon without telling me, even though when he went into hospital, I gave them our civil partnership details. I was his legal, I've got what the term is now, the legal representative and so on and so forth. We were living at the same address. They insisted on refusing to recognize our relationship officially, although we did force them to admit me as his next of kin in a letter here. I'll just read it very, very briefly. Good morning, Theodore. Mr. Brown. Well, we weren't on first name terms. Following our telephone conversation in which I phoned them and said, why has he been in the hospital for 4 weeks now and he hasn't had a health assessment, right? I can confirm that an assessment of health needs will be carried out for your father, John Glynn, at Albany Lodge this afternoon at 2 p.m. This will be carried out by a nurse assessor, Anne Jackson. Now, health assessments should be carried out by a doctor, not a nurse. This was sent to me at 2 minutes to 10 in the morning, or an assessment that was taking place at 2, where the assessment is asking the close relative or family, has they got any allergies? What is their medical history, etc., etc. I'm not invited to this. I managed to get there, and they tried to stop me from going in. And when he heard me calling for him, he started to scream, and that's why they actually allowed me into the room. At Albany Lodge, he had cigarettes stubbed out on the back of his hand. He had tea and coffee accidentally spilt on his lap repeatedly. And they accidentally, every now and then, their feet just accidentally kicked his ankles when he was sitting. And this is after I had made it very clear that I was going to make an issue out of this. I sued Lambeth. We got £30,000 compensation, which didn't come through until after Noel had died. And some of the things that happened to him are less than what's happening to lots of LGBT people in care homes right now. So me and a colleague, Claire Truscott, I don't know if you ever, are setting up a website to help give people advice on various services throughout Britain, including care homes, which have, like Greenwich, for example, just recently won a surrogate gay rights campaign award for being open in their social care, not care homes, social care. Those like council houses where there are groups of people who go around to make sure that everyone's okay, but it's not a care home, it's just, they have just openly won the award from Stonewall, because in most cases, the care homes are private, they do their own thing. None of them, not one of them, apart from Lambeth, have any conditions for the treatment of LGBT people. None of them declare any of their staff to be LGBT. And I have been out since I was 20, in 1970, the first gay rights movement. If I went to a care home now, I would not let anybody know that I was gay, because when I mention this to people, they say, well, you've had 50 years of gay rights movements, but I'm talking about a situation where you're in a building where they employ people who come from countries where it's still illegal to be LGBT. You're in a room by yourself to somebody where one of the things that happened to Noel, I actually managed to come into the room where one of the assistants was whispering to him how he was a dirty queer. You can't get out. You're in the room by yourself. So we're trying to set up an a website that will give people advice about this. Is the Guardian article, care home residents subjected to homophobic abuse. This article came out in the Guardian after Noel's death. And I have here a newspaper cutting, just bear with me a moment. Sorry. For example, carers jailed over hurling stones at dementia patients. These two people, I can show you the article in detail, but basically, these two carers, sorry about were entertaining themselves by going into the garden, picking up the gravel and throwing stones and gravel at dementia patients, right? It details here that how when they were threatened with being exposed, they realized they were about to be discovered. They warned each other in Facebook messages to delete the incriminating footage. They got 20 weeks in prison. And I later found that, first of all, not only were the fact that they were found guilty of throwing stones at dementia patients and laughing and filming it, filming the people crying, to be fair, that did not stop them from being able to apply to work in care homes. And in fact, they did. They are now working in care homes again after they got out of prison. So this is the kind of thing that we're facing, and there is at the moment no overseeing organization, including even Stonewall. They're trying, but don't have much opportunity. So most of us will wind up in a care home or know somebody who winds up in a care home. And we need to have some insight and some effect on what is happening to these people. So I'm prepared to give my email address, and we will let you know what's happening as soon as the website comes up. And particularly, we want support and advice and information from trans people, because on the day that I went to the care home after they told me that he had died, 3 o'clock in the morning, I got a call saying your partner has died. Although I had told them, let me know when he's ill, I want to go and see him. Come here at 9 o'clock in the morning and we'll sort it out. I got there at 9. A new system had been set up, independent of the home, where they took the body away and the home did not know where he was. I've got all paper records of all of this. I was told that he died on the 31st of December, 2021. And it wasn't until the 15th of January that I found out where his body was. It was in a Lambeth cemetery being prepared for cremation as someone with no next of kin. And I managed to find his body, and we had a proper funeral. But they completely disregarded our relationship. And I said in that email, for example, when I was insisting that I be recognized as her partner, they refused to ever use the term your partner in relationship to him, which is why they said, I'm Theodore Brown. My partner is John Noel Glynn. He is white. I am black. At the time, he was 76. I was 69. And they're calling him my father. So at the moment, as we sit here, some LGBT people are in a care home suffering unbelievable abuse. It's like 1940s in a care home now, and we need to do something about it.
How do we start? How do we start doing something about it?
Sorry?
How do we start doing something?
Well, we're setting up this website both to inform care homes that we want them to include in their terms of reference that they will employ and train people about LGBT rights, that if somebody is suffering abuse, homophobic abuse, or any abuse, that they should be taken to court, not just penalized by the home itself, which often means just one term of work with something that they lose, and that there should be an ability for various organizations to inspect the homes on behalf of LGBT people to ensure that fairness and equality is being exhibited. So I'm sorry about that.
So much for sharing that. I'll pause it there so that we can leave this space, because they've been very nice. If you do want to use this space ever, let us know and we will share your contact details. And I also wanted to say thank you again for all of you that have been here all day. And also that Lady Phyll sends her warm all of you, and we're looking forward to seeing you at UK Black Pride on the 10th of August or to volunteer. So have a lovely weekend.
Minimum 8
Have a lovely weekend wherever you end up. And thank you so much.